guys, Ash here, Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. It's that time of year, guys. We are going to go ahead and review and grade every single legendary champion here in 2025. I do these videos once a year for every rarity in the game. So I felt like, why not tackle legendaries first this year? And that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, historically, these videos have been like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours long.
I would do anything for you.
I'm not going to do that to you guys today. I will, however, it's going to be long no matter what. I will have timestamps for every single one of the factions, so you can take this in kind of like bite-sized segments if you so choose to. Shout out to anybody out there who just plows through the entire video, chilling with me, talking some raid, sending some love, some positive vibes your way. Let's get to it. There's been a lot of new legendaries added to the game, and there's been a lot of legendary buffs along the way. I am not going to, I repeat, not read every single kit of every single champion because...
It's funny, but I want to believe you.
Well, if we're talking for 5 minutes about 243 legendaries, well, you guys can do the math. It's going to be too long. So we're going to start with Sylvan Watchers. We're going to work our way all the way up to Bannerlords, and we're going to go kind of rapid fire, but I'll give my quick take on all these champions as well. Like, how excited would I be if I pulled some of these champions from a shard? Without further ado, let's start with Elva. Elva, the first champion, first legendary introduced in the Sylvan Watcher, and one of the best, right? Great 3-turn revive when booked. She's got the cleanse, the block debuffs, and the increased speed with the passive heals, with the continuous heals, with the speed all battles aura, with the speed. Yeah, Elva is, I'm not going to mince it. I mean, Elva's S tier for me. She's really, really, really good. King Galkabar, man, he's a very... It's weird. I say underrated. He's got such a powerful kit, but just not a clear spot in the game outside of like Dragon. He's doing this move where he goes in, he removes all buffs from enemies, and then he's placing poisons for each buff removed, and then he's doing the inverse or the opposite on his A3. 3-turn cooldown again. He's a full cleanse on all allies, continuous heal for each debuff removed. Very, very cool. He's super tanky. He's super fast. Got a cool passive as well. I'm going to give him B tier. He's really compelling, but he just needs more. We need more areas in the game outside of Dragon where poison is a great option. Back in the day, it used to be Demon Lord. Oella, super fast, very underrated. A good support champion, despite Altan of the Shell being kind of underwhelming. We'll get to him in about an hour, I'm sure. She has a heal and an increased duration of buffs. It's a nice juicy heal on a 3-turn cooldown. Can't complain about it. She has the creme de la creme in terms of turn meter boost in the game at 30% with the increased resistance. All the books go to a cooldown. We love to see it. 3-turn cooldown. You put that with the A2, you get a lot of support from this champion, plus a pretty nice passive for mitigation as well. I like Oella. I think she's underrated. I'm going to give her a B. Dude, for the life of me, I can't pronounce this damn name. Callowite. Cowlight. The Ash Arrow. How about Ash Arrow? What's up, man? He's a compelling champion. I don't have him, but I've seen a few guides on him. I saw Drock did a long video or live stream on him as well, and I found him a bit underwhelming in terms of my expectations. He's a damage dealer. He's got, conditional, heals and extra effects in his kit. He has this passive. Whenever this champion or an ally's turn meter is decreased, increase the damage of this champion's next attack by 20%. Stacks up to 100%. Whenever this champion's turn meter drops below 25% because of a turn meter reduction effect, plays a block debuffs on this champion and gives him an extra turn. Very unique passive. He's speedy for a nuker as well. He deals some nice but not insane damage. I'm going to give him a B-. Ruark, our Green Warden Ruark. Man, a tanky dude who I just feel like he should be a bit better than his kit. His kit reads better than it is to me. I've always felt that way. He's got an AoE decrease attack, stealing continuous heals. Okay, very conditional. He's got a taunt, increased defense, and strengthen on this champion. Very selfish ability. Listen, I'm not blown away by Green Warden Ruark. I don't think he's super trash. He's not like a D or an F, but I'm going to give him a C. The big thing I would love to see changed is the increased defense and the strengthen. Go on everybody. not just him. It is a 4-turn cooldown, 6 unbooked. It's pretty ridiculous that is no AoE buffage that he's bringing to the table. So despite a kind of nifty shield passive going on here, I want more from my Green Warden Ruark. I'd love to see a buff to him, so I'm going to give him a C. Saoirse the Shard, speaking of buffs, did receive a buff a few months ago. She's got a triple hitter. They increased the chance of her, of everything that she's doing, right? Specifically, she's putting a burn on a 3-turn cooldown. I think it used to be a 4-turn cooldown. Either way, they went in there, they boost up her rate. She also has a decreased speed on an AoE, which is nice, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown. They also went in here, has a 35% chance, make it a 50% chance to activate burns on the attacker, which is really good. They increased this as well on the latest buff. She's a Plarium Play pass. Plarium Play. I can't speak already. We just started the video. Champion, who I think is freaky as all hell. You know, she is a freaky looking champion. I don't think she's worth what it takes to spend, frankly, to get her. I'm still not blown away. I still like a lot of other burners out there better than her. That being said, she can solo some content in the right gear. I'll give her a B-. Estrid Dreamsong. She's one of my favorite fusions of the last couple years in the game. She's one of the fastest champions in the entire game. She's got a speed, arena, battle, aura. She's got this extra turn ability. You guys will know by the end of the video, if you don't know now, that extra turn abilities to me are everything inside this game. They're super, super powerful. They allow you to keep the uptime on buffs and debuffs closer to 100%, which is always the goal on your enemies or your allies. So the extra turn with 2 pivotal buffs, increase attack, increase speed, also turn meter, and 2 pivotal debuffs, decrease speed and a weaken and decrease turn meter. She is amazing. I give her S tier. Glaciad the Meltwater. Man, the improved version of Duchess. Whenever I say that, people get upset about it. People love Duchess, and for good reason. But his kit is different, arguably better, at least in some situations. He's got speed and arena battles on his aura, just like Duchess. He brings an increased attack and a perfect veil, just like Duchess. He also brings turn meter increase, which is very nice on his A2. He's got an AoE revive, increased accuracy, increased defense, but he can place those 3-turn buffs even if nobody's revived. Really, really cool. If somebody was revived, he gets an extra turn. He also has perfect veil, 10% damage, extra damage. That come out right? And under Perfect Veil placed by this champion, deal an extra 10% damage to enemies under a Veil or Perfect Veil as well. Man, more damage escalation is everything in this game. His base stats are nasty. His base speed is nasty. He is an S-tier champion. Very, very good. I wish I had him. Lady of Irith got a buff recently, a pretty significant buff. She was probably the worst legendary in Sylvan Watchers. They went in there. She has a single target heal and a cleanse, a critical heal as well. Turn meter fill. She has a surplus heal as well attached to that A2 ability. She got a strengthen and a continuous heal. What they added to her kit, they made this ability so much better, this rhythmic strength. She's also decreasing the cooldown of all ally skills except this champion by 1 turn. This is on a 3-turn cooldown. This is a nice ability to have, similar to Emic, who we'll be talking about in just a few minutes. A lot better than she used to be. Is she S tier now? No. I would give her a B, but in the right combination, she can be a very viable option, especially longer battles like Hydra battles, parlayed with awesome champions, damage dealers, maybe like a Trunda, for example. Feral the Barkhorn is S tier. He's got 100% decreased speed on his A1. He's got a decreased accuracy as well as a block buffs on his A2. Perfect for Hydra, perfect for Chimera, perfect for everywhere. He's got a perfect veil and an increased resistance on a 4-turn cooldown, as well as the Spirit of the North, which is so incredibly powerful. He's going to go in there and escalate damage as long as they're under 4 buffs in a buff heavy meta. He's going to get 20%. Everybody's going to get 20% extra damage. That is absolutely bonkers, insane. It really is a huge difference maker. That's why you see all the best teams in the world almost in every area of the game. We're talking dungeons, we're talking Hydra, everywhere. Chimera include a Feral the Barkhorn. He is S tier. Grand Oak Podrick is also S tier. He's got speed and dungeons by 25%. He's got an awesome cooldown effect on his A1. He has an ally attack with a continuous heal on a 4-turn cooldown with restoration. Very, very powerful. Ally attack is everything in this game. It is the meta. It defines the meta in a lot of ways, in a lot of areas. His A3 just keeps getting better, though. He's got a turn meter fill of 20% and a full cleanse and an increased speed, all on a 3-turn cooldown. Are you kidding me? And then Grand Oak's magic. He's basically setting up your defense-based nukers, your attack-based nukers, your supports with accuracy, and your HP with shield. Every time he gets a turn, everybody gets exactly what they need. He's fast as well. He's S tier, one of the best champions in the faction. Alil just got another buff, his second big buff. He's stealing all buffs on his A1. Nice move, can't be resisted, especially when trying to steal Stone Skin in the arena. If not, he can ignore Stone Skin with his A2 ability, which they just went in and added an ignore defense as well as a damage multiplier. They added another damage multiplier to his A3 ability. It's conditional. It's removing the positive versions of increased defense and strengthen, and replacing them with the negative versions. Nothing can be resisted. He also has HP and defense escalation as well as turn meter for every buff on his passive. That allows you to build him with attack percentage on his boots a little bit slower. They did a good job buffing Alil, especially on this last buff. I haven't released a video, but I will on my Champion Guides YouTube channel. That's Raid Shadow Legends Champion Guides. All right, we have Claydna, another buff. A lot of buffs this year, honestly. About 30 or so, 25 buffs in the last year, about 2 a month. Sometimes 3, I don't know.
Well, that depends on my mood, yes.
Fey Monarch, they went in there and they made it a little bit better, right? It's a 60% chance of completely blocking incoming damage on a random ally. It used to be just her. They also worked on her A2 or A3. Her A1 gives sleep. Her A2 decreased speed and leech. Her A3 is a cleanse, block debuffs, and revive on death. She's still very good. She's very good after her buff. I'm going to rank her. Oh, I didn't rank. Did I rank Alil? No, I didn't. Alil is tough. When I'm recording this, it's like the day after his buff, so I've very limited. But I'm going to go ahead and give him an A-, subject to change. Maybe in a week he is the best nuker in the meta. I'm not sure yet, but I love the buff that they did. Claydna, I love the buff, but I don't feel like... It's weird. You almost want her to actually revive or have a revive mechanic for a Void Legendary with a kit like this, or a better healing mechanic. She's kind of an interesting champion. She's not trash, but she's not great. I'm going to give her a B. Emic, Trunkheart, previous fusion in the game. He's got an AoE shield. He's got the same ability, as I said, with Lady Irith, at least in the capacity of decreasing the cooldown of all ally skills. We already talked about how powerful that can be. When they went in there and they nerfed Taunt and Hydra, he took a hit as well as all Taunt champions, but he still can be serviceable. He brings, of course, the unkillable as well on all allies for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. So anywhere you can use an unkillable team, you can get utility out of Emic. Maybe falling off a little bit, I'm still going to give him a B. Yenseska, Grail Bearer. Very unique champion. First off, she's an AoE on the A1 with decreased attack. She's very fast at 110, especially for a debuffer. She's the only champion in the game that has Poison Cloud as a buff, including increased speed and a continuous heal. It's also fill the target's turn meter by 50%. This is a great move. Obviously, Poison Cloud, you're not going to be able to be CC'd with that debuff on. Very nice. And basically that turn meter boost is huge. It's huge to get your nuker going even faster. You know, I pair her usually with my top nukers on my team to try to get more damage out of them. She also has an AoE decreased defense and weaken from a Void Affinity champion. She's only like the 4th in the game, Venus, Bellinor, and Lydia, to have that ability on the same 3-turn cooldown on an AoE. She also will ignore block debuffs, which might be niche, but it's still very nice to have. And then she has increased accuracy for each buff on each enemy on her passive. Pretty damn solid kit in Yenseska. I will give her an A. All right, it is Shadowkin time. Jintoro. I think the second champion to be added to Shadowkin legendaries. He's still a pretty interesting champion. He can actually smack really hard. He can steal turn meter. He brings decrease in defense, single target on a 3-turn cooldown. So great for like old school Demon Lord. Good debuffer for Chimera, basically single target boss situations. And Oni's Rage can absolutely smack, and it will attack 5 times on the 4th use of this skill. A bit niche, single target damage dealer, but still pretty solid. I'm going to go ahead and give Jintoro a B-. Lady Kimmy, again, 115 base speed is the fastest in the game at the time of this recording, but about 20 champions have it. So, including a lot of mythicals. Lady Kimmy is one of them. She's very, very good. Some people say she's fallen off a little bit. She was S tier when she was released. I still think she's an A+ champion. She's got an AoE decrease accuracy, decreased speed, decreased turn meter, very strong arena opener given her speed, as well as her turn meter increase, increased accuracy, and increased speed. A lot of manipulation in her kit. Very, very solid champion. Ninja, man, I'm so glad they brought him back to the game for a lot of players to get their hands on. He is the boss killer. Not only is he applying a burn, but he's activating a burn on the same ability. Moreover, against bosses, he's reducing the cooldown of that A2 hail burn ability. Such a powerful combination. Get back to it even faster. He's bringing decreased defense. He's bringing AoE freeze situations like Dark Fae or wherever you need crowd control. Ninja has such a powerful kit. I'm going to give him A+. Mishinaki.
Well, tell Tim you made a mistake.
Yeah, screw it. S tier on Ninja, right? Michinaki. Man, one of my favorites. I love the glowing green head. What's up, Michinaki? How you doing, man?
Smoking!
He's got a defense base. He has a chance of joining in on attacks against enemies under Hex. He has really, all of his moves are super strong. He places a burn on his A1, which synergizes very nicely with his passive. He's going in, bringing a decreased defense, decreased attack on enemies under Hex on his A2 on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. A3, he's going in there on a 2-time hitter on a 3-turn cooldown, removing buffs and placing a Hex. Hydra, he's S tier. I'm going to give him an A tier overall. Mishinaki's very good. Also defense all auras, or all battles on the aura, which is helpful in Centranos and areas like, Siege, I guess, right? When you don't have other auras to use. Zinogre, Blade Master. Zinogre's a very interesting champion. She's all about the multi-hit. She got speed in dungeons on the aura, quad hit with an increased speed on all allies, 3-turn cooldown. I love that she also brings the utility of the increased speed. She was a Monster Hunter champion. She goes in with an increased attack on herself and a leech and a decreased attack as well. She has a cool passive as well, preempting fatal hits and more. She has an A1 with another triple hitter with weaken. She brings a lot to the table for a single target damage dealer. I'm going to go ahead and give her a B. Harima! Harima is insane. She's got hard-hitting moves all over her kit. She's got a triple hitter with a decreased defense, kind of a built-in cruelty mechanic on her A2. If you kill somebody, you instantly activate the hard-hitting AoE attack and Celestial Awe. Her A3 ability that also has a provoke on it. Great for the Head of Decay and Hydra Clan Boss. It's amazing for the arena, primarily because of, not just her damage, but also her passive. Incredibly unique. Enemy ignore defense. Effects are decreased by 50%, and that applies to all allies on the team. It's one of the best ways to counter some of the most annoying and powerful champions in the meta. Even a champion like Marius, sometimes you're just at a loss. How am I supposed to stop these champions? Well, Harima at least provides some utility in that regard. Very, very strong. We'll give her S tier. Yoshi the Drunkard was the first legendary added to the game in Shadowkin faction. He's great for a bomb setup champion. Increased attack and increased accuracy are exactly what you need there. Also a true fear on all enemies. Sign me up. It's a really underrated, really powerful opening move, all on a 3-turn cooldown. He also brings a burn, decreased accuracy, good for PvE environments on his A2, and then a stun on the A1. He has speed in all battles by 19%. Hey, you could do a lot worse than Yoshi. The fact is, though, there's just better options out there as well than Yoshi in most situations. Although, off the top of the dome, I think only Arbias would be better than him for a bomb setup champion. So a bit niche, but can definitely provide some utility. I'm going to give him a C+. Noble, man, Noble's gotten a few buffs over the years, and he's still not quite there. He's Ninja's empowerment champion. That's probably his claim to fame inside the game. He has decreased duration of 2 random buffs. He's got a 2-turn hitter that ignores 30% of defense. It doesn't hit that hard, but it's still, they've done some work on this ability. He has turn meter fill in there, as well as an AoE where he's stealing turn meter. The one thing I'll say about Noble is he's not as bad as a lot of people think he is. who haven't tried him after like his 3 buffs, right? He's actually really fun. The problem with Noble is there's still no place in this game here in 2025 for Fear and True Fear champions, right? Sure, it's a trial in Chimera. It can be somewhat useful in wave content, but it's just not there on the same level as every other meta strategy, hence it not being meta, hence Noble really not having a place in the meta, even though I do like what they did to him. A lot of motor here, a lot of turn meter fill, turn meter steal, and a bit of damage as well. So not that bad, still very niche. I'm going to give him a C-. Tatsu. Her claim to fame is being a Lady Mikage fusion champion, and unfortunately, that is her best utility. She's got a pretty blasé kit, an AoE decrease resistance, and a stun, a sleep. Stun would be much better. And then a 2-time hitter with removing buffs and stealing from enemies. Not a bad move, but she feels very epic-like to me. She always has, I'm going to give her a C-, and I think that's probably being kind. Genzen is a lot better. He's all about just going fast, dealing a ton of damage, decrease defense. He's got a strong Fated Vengeance ability, turn meter fill all over the place. Very, very underrated and very good champion. I'm going to give him a A-. Kyoku is the queen of ally protection. I still think she's one of the better ally protection champions in the entire game. Why? She has an ally protect with a block damage on herself for 3 turns, which is nice because she has the extra turn. You know how I love extra turns? That's great because she's soaking up all the damage from all of your allies, 50% mitigation, but she's not taking any damage because of the block damage. It makes her, again, an incredible ally protector, an AoE decrease attack, as well as a nifty passive with increased defense, kind of like a Seeker-esque passive. Very cool. You put it all together with the defense in all battles aura of 30%. You're looking at a very solid ally protector. Great for progression. Does fall off a little bit in the end game. We'll give her a B+. Gamoran. I love the buff that they did to Gamoran. Super fast, 109. They improved his revive on the passive soul charge. Super powerful. You're getting a revive every time an enemy is killed, or every time a block revive is placed on an enemy. He has block revive that you can place on dead enemies. And then he has an AoE steal all buffs from all enemies, and then puts a buff spread. He's still niche, he's still off meta, but man, you can have a lot of fun with this champion, and really he can fit into endgame teams as a surprise pick to well, surprise your opponents. Good in other areas like, denying revival and ice golem minions and stuff like that as well. I'm going to give Gamoran a B+. Karato Fox Hunter. He is Yumeko's tandem champion. He's got a 2-turn stun, which is nice. However, there's a bunch of champions, Killian the Lucky and Tuok the Wanderer, who have 2-turn stuns. Genro the Stork as well. Stork.
Potato, potato.
An AoE, block active skills. It is a bit redundant. I find him and Yumeko on the same team together. She has lockout. He has block active. Can't be resisted. Pretty good. He deals some nice damage for a spirit-based attack, a nuker. But I do think there's a reason that Plarium gives him away for free to new players. Is because he's just not an elite legendary champion. Unfortunately, I will give him a B-. If you're looking for damage, he's got you covered. Arashi the Riptide. A new champion in the game, and honestly, he feels like he really, really sucks. I don't have him. Increased speed in arena battles. He's got a ignore defense, single target hitter. If he kills the enemy, increase the duration of all buffs on this champion. He does ignore stone skin if he's under a veil or perfect veil. A lot of conditionality here. He has a decently hard-hitting AoE as well. He does start each turn with a perfect veil. Unfortunately, the damage just isn't there. He's an HP-based nuker, and everything I've seen says the damage is very underwhelming here. Let me know if you disagree. Again, I will call out any champion that I personally don't have throughout the duration of this video. I don't want to be unfair. I want to be, candid with you guys that I have not played them personally, and that is the case with Arashi, the Riptide. I'm going to give him a C-. Rio Bone Spear, S tier. She's incredible. One of the best champions in the game to put in a feral set, because look at all these debuffs that we have on the A2 ability. It's insane if you can pull it off with a 9-piece feral. Either way, she's a beast no matter what you're looking for her to do, right? All these debuffs, single target, it's really second to none or close to in terms of a single target debuffer in the game. Not to mention her incredible perfect body ability. You're getting a great heal, you're getting a block debuff and a full cleanse. Super, super, super powerful. It doesn't stop there. She has a great passive transferring debuffs away. S tier, very underrated, one of the better champions out there in the game for my money. Jingwan got a few different and significant buffs. throughout the years. The last one, they really did the trick. I felt like they did a good job on Jingwan. He's still not the legendary that you necessarily want to have coming out of a void chart, though. He's got an AoE, block active skills, and block buffs. Great for mythical control, great for wave control as well. He's got a 2-time removing all buffs, as well as a decreased accuracy, decreased crit damage, kind of niche on the buffs. A strengthen on all allies as well. Nice to have, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown. He has that great passive where he's immune to being CC'd. At the end of an ally turn, he can cleanse it. That is on a 4-turn cooldown. And then he has that great Doom exchange where he's transferring debuffs on his A1. Great for situations like Dragon as well. I'm going to give Jingwan now a B. Yumeko. Oh, the notorious Yumeko, the double Yumeko, Trunda Yumeko. Yumeko is a great champion. She's stealing turn meter, she's hexing, and she's bouncing back debuffs with the enemies under hex. Great for situations like Bommel. She has the Dance of Time, which is incredible. On the same ability, we are resetting cooldowns and increasing cooldowns of the enemy team. She's got the Perfect Veil for 2 turns at the start of the round. She's immune to debuffs while she's under the Perfect Veil. She's stealing buffs. A lot. That's a Karato only ability, the steal buff, but still a lot going on here. Incredible champion, S tier, easy. Ginro the Stork. There he is. He's the last champion, I want to say, or the second to last champion that you get from Doom Tower, Hard Rooms. He's got that 2-turn stun that ignores block debuffs and block damage. Pretty interesting. He's got an increased defense and a counterattack, which leads into increase the cooldown of target skills. Good control on the A1. Actually really like this dude's nose. And I like his kit too. However, you know, it takes forever to get him, and he's just not strong enough. I do like that his resistance is changed into accuracy as well. Very, very nice. Place a provoke for enemies under increased attack. He's got a cool passive too. Honestly, a lot of people hate on this dude. I think he's more of a B- champion. He's very arena focused, arena centric, but he's just not strong enough to be meta. So unfortunately, I would love to see a buff to him to make him a little bit more viable, but just not there right now. Maybe a C+, maybe B- was a little bit too kind. Shuzen the Valorous. Shuzen is the meta right now in top live arena, but really she's fantastic anywhere. She's great if you want to manual a team with Purging Petals, even in PvE. She's great with the instant turn. So basically, your allies move at the speed, or your ally moves at the speed of Shuzen, because she's able to go in there and grant them an instant turn, as well as all the attack-based buffs that you would want to have for your nuker. She's got a great charge of the Valorous as well, going in there with the increased speed and the turn meter manipulation and the decreased speed, all in one. Fantastic champion. Definitely a candidate to be put in your best speed gear on your account. S tier. Onryu Ieyasu, one of the best attack-based damage dealers in the game. Hard-hitting abilities all over the place. He has an Ignore Stone Skin as well, 50% defense. You even see him in endgame arena as well. He's made his presence known everywhere in the game. He also has the excess damage that ignores 100% of defense, albeit will not be critical on his passive to give a little AoE damage to what is otherwise a single target nuker. I'm going to give him S tier. All right, Taragi, sorry, you're in the next video. Dwarf time, Trunda. Trunda still got it. She still got it going on. I thought it was a very weird thing that they did with her kit, but hey, at the end of the day, she's still one of the best damage dealers out there, even in the arena with the Forge Rhythm ability, with Cloak of Ages as well. 2 hard-hitting abilities from the gal who never misses leg day. There she is. She's super tanky too, which just seems criminal on this champion. Very, very good to this day. I'm going to give her A+. Underpriest Brogni, old school fusion alert. He's got that AoE, chance of removing a buff. You kind of forget all the stuff that this dude does in addition to his shield growth, right? He's removing a random debuff from allies, increasing shield value. He's placing a shield block debuff, increase attack as well. He's got the burn on the A1 ability. He's still a super, super solid champion. We'll give him an A. Herndig, I like Herndig. He was a fusion way back in the day too. He's got to decrease defense, decrease attack on an AoE. I love that he has attack one enemy, fully deplete the turn meter, but then will also attack all enemies with a weaken and a burn. You add that to the decreased defense, you can get a decreased defense and a weakened AoE champion. Granted, he's not like Void Affinity and they're not on the same ability, plus a lot of damage and turn meter manipulation. A lot going on here with Herndig, a lot more than necessarily meets the eye at first glance. A really capable damage dealer. We're going to go ahead and give him a B+. Gottfried Brassclad. Very unique champion. He's got an AoE 3-turn stun from a defense-based, kind of a tanky powerhouse. Got kind of a weird A3 ability, but hey, he does bring an increased defense at the end of the day. And then he has this brass clad, super strong. If an ally's about to get killed by a fatal hit, he blocks that damage, throws the block damage on them as well. And if an ally's attacked while under the block damage, then he can place a stun on them. Great control and support for an ally on the team. Underrated defense-based champion, maybe a little bit of niche, but great wave control, great for the arena as well. We'll go ahead and give him an A-. Mountain King. I'm not a fan of Mountain King. I really want his abilities. He's the highest HP in the game, but it's just not enough for me anymore, right? I want more out of Mountain King. I know some of you guys absolutely love Mountain King. Man, his aesthetic is amazing as well. I really want multi-hitters in his kit. Single hits on every ability, it's just not enough. I think Mountain King is in desperate need of a buff. I know some people will absolutely be railing against me in the comments, but I gotta say it how I see it, and I'm gonna give him a D+. Beauregard the Elder. Beauregard, kind of an underwhelming champion as well. He's got an increased resistance, increased speed, but it's on a 4-turn cooldown. I know most increased resistance is on a 4-turn cooldown, but not with the increased speed. He's not going to be dependable enough to keep that uptime up. And then remove a random debuff from allies with a shield. I want a full cleanse, man. I am not a huge fan of Beauregard the Elder, unfortunately. He looks pretty cool, but he's just not there. I'm going to give him a D. Granjar. Is Granjar the last champion that you get from Doom Tower? It might be Granjar, not Jinro. Either way, he's also pretty bad. He's got a very underwhelming A2. He's got an AoE with a burn on the A3, which is nice, but it's on a 4-turn cooldown, man. Not a lot going on here. I'm not a big fan of him. Kind of an interesting passive, but not enough to justify how long it takes to get him. I would love to see a buff. He's only good in like one Soul Cross. By the time that you get him, one Soul Cross area, I'm going to give him an F. Nari the Lucky. Nari, super interesting champion. He's got an AoE decreased accuracy and a decreased resistance on a 3-turn cooldown, which is all ideal. He also has an AoE provoke, 100% 4-turn cooldown counterattack, which goes into more buff stealing. He's got a lot of buff stealing mechanics. He's transferring a random buff from an enemy to an ally, which is kind of interesting on his Joyful Song passive. Cool champion, not meta, not quite good enough, in my opinion. I'm going to give him a C. Molly Tankard. I love Molly. She's super fast. She's a reviver. Solid revive. 4-turn cooldown. Block damage. Hard-hitting A1 with a burn, which is nice against bosses. And the chance of a 2-turn provoke. Super powerful, especially on a 3-turn cooldown. She also has a nasty passive. Whenever she is hit, fills the champion's turn meter of all allies by 15%. Great for cutting in line in PvP. When hit by a boss, 25%. That's fantastic. It's on a 1-turn cooldown when booked. Great for Hydra clan boss. I'm going to give her an A. Samara Gem Cursed, another underwhelming, in my opinion, HP-based champion. He does have an AoE Steal 2 buffs ability, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown. Doesn't hit that hard. Even his Emerald Curse ability is just all right. HP-based, not very compelling damage dealer. Not the guy that I want to see coming out of a shard, frankly. I'm going to give him a D. Sorry, a lot of bad grades here, but, you know, it is what it is. The Dwarves are like a tale of OP champions and meh champions, in my opinion. Kira the Watcher, the other legendary for Lady Mikage fusion. She's all right. She's got an AoE, decreased duration of enemy buffs, as well as a decreased accuracy, ally protection, increased defense. This ability is a lot less special than it used to be. It is a lot of damage mitigation, don't get me wrong, but I think that Tyrant Ixlamore was the first champion to have an ability like this in the game, and since then they've added about a dozen of them, right? So there's a lot of variations, even a Verself the Grim, for example. So nice for progression. Outside of that, she's just meh. I'm going to give her a C+. Newt, S tier. Do I even have to say why? One of the hardest hitting enemy max HP ability in the game. There it is. Blessed Bash. Amazing against bosses, a triple hitter with control, hard-hitting AoE, counterattack, built-in cruelty, you name it, he's got it. He's just the GOAT. The best PvE champion in the game, right up there with Marius, is Newt. There's no doubt about it. He's S tier as they come. Admiral Black Tusk. So this guy is the Unity Lord, and he's actually pretty nasty for the Dwarf faction. I do not have this champion. He's got a cleanse and an ally attack. Such a strong ability on a 3-turn cooldown. Forget all the unity stuff. That's nasty. Remove all buffs from a target enemy and place a stun on them, and it gets better and better and better as well. Resetting cooldowns. I'm not going to read any of the Unity descriptions or it'll be here all day, but he's one of the better Unity champions out there in the game, in my opinion. Admiral Blacktusk, and he looks amazing as well. I'm going to give him S tier. Tormund the Cold. You guys been watching this channel for any amount of time, you know I'm still a massive fan of Tormund. Great synergy with Freeze champions, and they're adding Freeze champions all over the place. Lady Noelle being the latest kind of awesome tandem with him. Put him with the burner, even more synergy. He's got an AoE provoke. He's got an AoE on the A1. He's got freezes everywhere on that passive. Great response to speed teams in the arena. Great in a stun set. Great in Stone Skin. Great in lethal. You name it, he's got it. Great for control. A revive mechanic built into his passive. I'm going to give Tormund A+. Acrisia, enemy max HP on every single ability. Simple as that, right? Fantastic damage for any boss out there. Chimera, Hydra, Spider, you name it. You see her still in a lot of top teams out there, even to this day. She's been in the game for a couple years now. I'll give Acrisia... To me, she's right between A+ and S-. We'll give her A+. Senna Amberheart. Arguably the best support for Chimera Clan Boss because of her nasty passive. Whenever a continuous heal activates on any ally, fills a turn meter of all allies by 5%. She's got instant activation of continuous heals on her A1. She's got a great turn meter boost with increased speed and 2 continuous heals on her A2. Great in a 9-piece protection. She's got a revive and an ally attack off of the revive, as well as speed in all battles. I'm going to give Senna S tier. Maybe a little bit more niche in her S tier, but S tier regardless. She's in the top, a lot of the top teams for Chimera, and you can basically use her anywhere. Acorn, aka Arnorn the Shining. Man, this guy's wrecked me a few times in the arena. He's very, very strong. He's got an extra turn mechanic. He's got a pretty hard-hitting attack-based AoE that ignores increased defense, strengthen, and shields. Decreased turn meter of all enemies. If you kill an enemy, which you usually do, it can't be resisted. He's not the hardest attack-based nuker in the game, but this passive really puts him over the edge to a much sought-after Void Legendary. I do not have Arnorn. Okay, check this out. Increases attack by 5% for each active buff on the enemy team. Insane. So great against go second teams. Prevents his death. Keeps him alive with 1 HP. Places Stone Skin on him. Then instantly activates his A3 ability. Whew. He's wrecked me with that ability, that move before. Such a strong preempt death move with the Stone Skin and the instant activation. We'll give him a... I don't have him. What are the... to me, he's like very niche to the arena, so for that reason, we'll give him a B+. All right, we're moving right along, guys. Nice Revenant, Narma. Man, Narma can actually be really solid for progression in the early game if you pull her in the early game, but that's about it. She's got poison points and sensitivity. Same thing, this will be a reoccurring theme. Poison and burn, poison, not burn. Poison and fear just aren't in the meta right now, you know, outside of a couple different areas. She's not awful when it comes to poison synergy. However, you know, there's epics, frankly, that can do what she does very close to the ability that she can do them in a niche area anyway. For that reason, she's going to get a D. Maybe at some point, hopefully, she'll be better in the future. Gaius the Gleeful, probably my second or third favorite bomb champion out there in the game. He's got an AoE with a sleep, as well as bombs. You can bring that bomb detonation down with the explosive wit, and then the Mad Bomber passive instantly detonates those bombs whenever he's killed. You can pull out some fun combos with him. We'll give him a B+. Shemnath. I like Shemnath. She's pretty cool. She's got a strong triple hitter, all of them doing something to the enemy. Wow, that's a really in-depth analysis there. All of them doing something. Next, Humble and Broken is pretty strong. You're removing all buffs, and then the second hit ignoring defense after they have no buffs, hopefully. Albeit, you know, Statue of Liberty is really cool. I love the aesthetic on her. She's a little niche, though. She's a little niche. I'm going to give her a B-. Eric's free HP-based login champion after like 700 or 800 days. AoE on her A1, AoE on her A2. She's removing buffs, which is very nice on her A1. She's stunning on her A2, then counterattack with ally protection on her A3. I'm going to give her a B+. Great damage dealer. Great for like blender comps as well. You can also put her in Slayer sets and do some nasty things. She can solo Spider hard. White Queen Ancora, S tier. I'm just going to say that out the gate. She's got a great cleanse, a turn meter fill, a great revive on a 3-turn cooldown. Cooldown decreasing on allies on her A1, as well as the ability to basically circumvent CC debuffs put on allies. She'll take them instead. If she loses her turn, she'll get a turn meter boost. Very powerful, even without Narcissus. Speed in all battles on top of that, S tier. Gaeth, the Truth Shield. I do not have her. She has an AoE, increased duration of all buffs. She has damage escalation there as well. She's a defense-based damage dealer. She has reflect damage, ally protection, increased resistance, and strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown, albeit the strength and increased defense are on herself alone. She also has some interesting ally reflect damage synergy here. Whenever an ally under reflect damage is attacked, it gives them, it puts decreased crit rate, decreased defense on the attacker. Kind of a niche and interesting damage mitigator. She's not my favorite, though. I'm going to give her a C+. I know some people are a fan, though, so tell me why I'm wrong in the comments below. Bystophis, an old school attack-based champion. His claim to fame is for a long time he had the highest attack in the game. No longer because of Carnage and maybe, is it Nithwi? Very close to that. Either way, he doesn't hit that hard, unfortunately, which is the deceptive thing about multipliers in this game. He's got an AoE block active skills, critical hit against targets under block active skills, which he has on his A3 on a 4-turn cooldown. Kind of a power creep champion. 4-turn cooldown for a decreased defense is no good. We'll give him a C. Thea the Tomb Angel. Two types of players out there. People who love Thea the Tomb Angel, people who hate her. I am kind of in the latter camp. I think she's a bit overrated, and I apologize for that, because I know whenever I say that, people rage. She's got a really synergistic kit. They went in there, they did a little rework to her, and they did a good job. She's not trash. She's the first Doom Tower hard champion that you can get. She can deal some damage, especially from a force-based damage dealer. Her Hex Reaper can do a lot of damage if there's a lot of hexes out there on the battlefield. I've just found that if you have a lot of other or decent amount of options out there for AoE damage dealers, oftentimes she's too conditional to depend upon or rely upon for a lot of damage. For that reason, I give her a C+. I'm sure a lot of you guys will disagree with that. Verself the Grim. Hey, as I mentioned, increased defense, ally protection on a 3-turn cooldown, just like we spoke about on Freya from the Dwarves faction. Now, he does have an interesting A2 ability, can hit pretty hard for an HP-based damage dealer. Extra hit potential as well if they're under a CC debuff. He also has Provoke on his A1. Not the worst champion. I think he was a Fragment Summon back in the day, if I want to say so. He's pretty tanky, too. I'm going to give him a C+, maybe B-. Mother Cybele. She's fast, 115 base speed. Speed in all battles by 24%. An AoE decreased speed on her A1 ability, filling her turn meter. She has a fully heals the ally at lowest HP whenever she's killed, which is pretty interesting. Heals all allies by 20% of her max HP and fills her turn meter by 15% whenever this champion is revived. Interesting, she has revive on death, increased defense, good for Sand Devil. She also has a swap with increased speed, block damage mechanic. I don't love the A3 ability. It can be useful in Sand Devil as well as Hydra Clan Boss. You could put her in a curse set, maybe for the AoE on the A1, a dependable decreased speed, same as a Krisk on her A1 ability. So I'll give her Mother Cybele a B+. Losan Kaleth, and a very intriguing. People kind of hate this dude who I've seen so far, who have him. But I'm still super intrigued by him. I really want him. He's the Unity champion, Lord, whatever you want to call him, for Knights Revenant, which is my favorite faction in the game. He has a turn meter equalization brought to the ally with the highest turn meter. That is bonkers. He has a taunt, only champion with an ability like this in the game. He also has a lot of really interesting Lord abilities in his kit. Super powerful. Every time this champion loses 25% HP, he has block damage as well. If you can get that all the way escalated, he has instant turn on his champion. Really interesting kit. I really wish I had him. I'm going to give him an A+. Mad Hatter. Mad Hatter, of course, the fusion is part of the Alice event. He has an AoE, he has Hex, he has Weaken, he has the ally joining in with the highest crit damage on that A2 ability. Very, very strong on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. He's got the increased duration, the decreased duration, and the turn meter fill on a 3-turn cooldown. He's great in a lot of different areas of the game, specifically Hydra clan boss, Chimera clan boss as well. He's got debuff spread on his A1. Every turn's taken. He's got a heal as well. He's got a lot going on. He has True Fear as well, potentially on that passive. I'm going to give Mad Hatter an A. Tomb Lord. Old school champion, but man, they gave him a big buff a couple years back. He's got a decreased speed on his A1, which is a triple hitter. He's got four poisons if critical on all enemies on his A2, and then a decreased attack, decreased defense, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown. He also has an extra turn if an enemy's turn meter is decreased by the skill, which is also, by the way, in the skill. Very powerful kit when you put it all together. I'm going to give him an A+. Theodore the Savant. Oof. Well, talk about poison combustion combo. Tomb Lord puts the 4 poisons. Theodore comes in and activates them. Theodore has an AoE decreased speed on his A1. He has a poison sensitivity, and an increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown on the A2. He's got the instant activation of burns and poisons on his A3, and then he's got accuracy in all battles. Very, very good champion. Obviously situational, but there's a lot of situations where we can use burners and burn activators and everything else that he brings from a tanky champion. We'll give him S tier. Calvalax. 4 poisons on all enemies at the start of each round. That's all you need to know about Calvalax. He is the quintessential poison activator combo champion out there in the game. All he has to do is exist. He also hits pretty hard, has speed in all battles on his aura. We'll give him A+. Niche, but what a great niche to have, to be the best in that one specific area. He was also like a fan art contest champion, which is pretty interesting. He looks pretty cool. Walking Tomb Drang, for me, one of the more underrated champions out there in the game. He was a fragment summon way back in the day, I want to say. And then he's got the little dude on his back. What's up, little dude?
Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
He has a really strong heal on his A3 ability. Not a lot of people talk about that. He has a reflect on his passive, and then he's got the burn on a 3-turn cooldown on an AoE that can't be resisted. He also has a burn activation that can't be resisted on his A1. No need for accuracy in his kit. Very good. Frost Spider, Ice Golem, you name it. A lot of HP, a lot of tankage, a lot of heals, a lot of support in the burn, and the burn activation, A+. All right, next, Alatreon, Blade Master, part of obviously the Monster Hunters collab in the game. He was an exclusive champion. You can't get him anymore, but he's very good, very unique. He's got speed in dungeons. He's bringing increased defense, a shield, as well as a block debuff and a cleanse. And all of his buffs, as long as there's a boss present, everything's protected. That's really strong. We'll give him an A+. Skeletor, copyright Mattel.
Please.
Skeletor, man, I hated it big time on Skeletor when he was released. Because I love Skeletor, I love the He-Man IP. I'm right in that age demo, that age bracket, right? His kit is not going to blow anybody away. It's cool to place Petrification, right? Very cool ability, unique at the time of his release. The only champion to do that on an active skill. He's got the AoE increased accuracy on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown, which is very nice. The rest of his kit is kind of meh. His passive is interesting. I'm going to give him a C-, but I am actually a believer that you can get some utility out of this champion in progression. Hence a C- and not an F. Solus. Solus is an underrated defense damage dealer. He's got a 3-time at random removing buffs, which is really nice. He also has a provoke. It can't be resisted if a buff was removed. And then he has a really strong Reign of Terror AoE defense-based nuke. He also has increased duration of all debuffs on each target by 1 turn. Another provoke on the A3. So really, really strong provoker and damage dealer, and he's tanky. I like him. I don't love him. They went in, they touched up his defense and his multipliers and his speed a few years back. I'm going to give him a B+. Hegemon, man, Hegemon used to define the arena meta in this game. Not so much nowadays, but he's still unique enough to be a threat that has to be, you know, accounted for on the battlefield. You can build him to be a nuker. He's always going to go first. So you just build him with your best nuking gear. He can lock out, block active skills, or kill them. Of course, Stoneskin was a big thorn in his side in terms of him being meta, but he's still very capable nowadays. I'm going to give him a B+. Whirlin Frost King. Man, the first Battle Pass champion from like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. He has a strength and increased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. Now, this is a great damage mitigation ability. I like the combo of increased defense and strengthen. Obviously, it's a lot of mitigation for allies on a 3-turn cooldown. It's not that rare, as I mentioned earlier, but he does have a decent AoE. They went in here, they buffed this ability as well as a freeze on his A1. He's not the worst, he's not the best. I'm going to give him a B-. Fortis. Remember what we were saying about Noble? How, hey, he could be kind of cool, actually, if Fear, True Fear had a place in this game. That and then some on Fortis. They gave him a buff. It was a long-anticipated buff, longly awaited for, but he's still not that good, unfortunately. He has Astral Terrors, which is a secret ability that can be activated by stars aligned. It's all about putting True Fears and Fears on the enemy. They have a higher chance of them proccing when he's on the team, but the setup is too heavy on this champion, and the damage is not quite worth the payoff either. So unfortunately, Fortis, to me, is actually like a D, you know? Super compelling octopus squid type champion. I guess a squid, right? I love this guy, but he's just not good. Georgid the Breaker. Man, still one of the best legendary attack-based champions-based nukers out there in the game. He has one of the strongest Ignore Stoneskin and everything else abilities. With the extra turn, AoE, decreased turn meter, can't be resisted. Very hard-hitting Breaker Suite, his A1. Chance of repeating that attack as well. Has a 50% chance for this champion to ignore 50% of the target's defense built in. Man, he's nasty. I'm going to say Georgid is S tier still. Carolon the Ringer. Man, this guy's a very unique champion. The reviews are trash on this guy, but do not fret. If you pull him, you've got your hands on a very interesting support champion. He has an AoE Hex and Weaken, pretty nice ability. He has a freeze on all enemies on a 3-turn cooldown. Fully depletes the turn meter of all enemies under freeze from this skill. It's a nasty control ability. He's very fast, 109 base speed. You can use him as a control champion in the arena. Fills the turn meter of all allies by 10% for each freeze debuff blocked or resisted by the enemy team. This is super powerful. Why? Now it's Stoneskin meta. You open up in the arena, you might be going against 4 Stoneskins. So his Polar Vortex magically gets turned into the best turn meter AoE increase in the game out of 40% if everybody blocks because they're under Stoneskin. If they're not under Stoneskin, they get their turn meter depleted and they get frozen. It's a really underrated and good move here. I'm going to give him a B+. A lot higher than most people on Carolyn the Ringer. White King Narcissus. Second best HP-based nuker out of every legendary in the game. This Desecration Blast just hits like nothing else. It's absolutely insane. He's White Queen's companion champion. He's so much better even when she's on the team, and he's even great without her on the team. Great against shield targets. All of his moves are going to ignore strengthen and shield buffs. Just a ton of damage. Conditional block revive as well, depending on buffs on the target on his A3 ability. Man, he is so strong. We'll give Narcissus S tier. Queen of Hearts. Queen of Hearts, very, very good. I do not have the Queen of Hearts, to my dismay. She has a remove buff from enemies. She's got the Death Brand, the True Fear on enemies, great control ability on the off with their heads. She also has, for my money, probably the second best ally attack move in the game next to Lady Mikage on the Queenly Command. She also has extra turn every 10 buffs the enemy team receives, which is nice. I'm going to give Queen of Hearts A+, maybe S. Maybe S tier on Queen of Hearts. All right, moving in on Dark Elves. I don't have her, so it's hard for me to give an S on someone I don't have, but She's really good. Let me know if you have her, what you think of her. Dark Elves, Ray, old school champion. She still has AoEs on every move. Some of them hit pretty hard. She's still got a great speed aura, in dungeons. She doesn't hit as hard as she used to because there's just better nukers out there nowadays. Her base attack doesn't scale that well, but she does have a freeze, a remove all buffs on Banish, the best move in her kit. I'm going to go ahead and give her an... I'll give her a B-. Lanicus the Chosen, an underrated ally attacker, a unique ally attacker. She has 3 allies joining in our ally attack. Not ideal. It is a 4-turn cooldown. She is joining in the attack, thus placing more continuous heals on this champion, which is pretty nice. But she has fills turn meter of all allies by 30% and increased the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. Made her great in the olden days of ally attack teams with Demon Lord, but overall, it's still a very nice move on the Companions of Fate. I do think she's a little bit outdated. No passives, no auras. She has an extra turn mechanic, which can make her difficult to speed tune. I'm going to go ahead and give her a B. Foley. I love Foley, man. You can't stun, freeze, sleep, or provoke him. Instead, it's going to instantly remove it and boost his turn meter. He's going to deny revive on his Sealed Fate ability, and then he's got a 4-time hitter and another 4-time hitter on his A1, A2. Great for Fire Knight. Still a threat in the arena. Falling off a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and give Foley a B. Noct the Paralyzer. He's all about poisons and sleep. Thus, he's not super meta. He does have ally protection and continuous heals on a 3-turn cooldown. He has more heals on his passive, which is pretty nifty. He's tanky. He's interesting. He's just not meta. Again, struggles to find a place where he really shines out there, albeit not a trash champion. We're going to give him a B-. Truoth. Talk about a niche champion that can actually bring a lot of heals. He's low-key one of the best, if not the best, healers in the game. Only problem is that's basically all he does. I kid. He does bring Perfect Veil, which is very good buff on a 4-turn cooldown. But the Animus Infusion synergy with his passive basically can reduce that cooldown, making him, again, one of the best healers out there in all of Raid Shadow Legends. Maybe a bit niche, but hey, if you're looking for a healer, look no further. I'm going to give him a B+. Xavia, a Poison Combustor with a Deny Revival, very unique in that regard. She and Eleanoril are still like the creme de la creme when we talk about poison activators in the game. Very good Poison Rain ability. She's also Belenor's wife. She has a tandem ability with a debuff spread, which is kind of nice as well. Niche, but, and that niche, she's very good. Again, kind of the story of the Dark Elves so far. Let's go ahead and give Xavia let's give her a A-. Marinix. I was actually disappointed in Marinix. An AoE Hex in decreased defense, along with another AoE with some conditional ignores based on that Hex. She has a great reset cooldown, increase the champion's attack by 5%, each enemy under Hex. The damage wasn't there for me to get super, super excited about her. Again, a little disappointed. She looks really cool. I look at her as maybe like a legendary version of Thylesia, and I'm just not super excited about that, frankly, Thylesia to me is very close to the same, especially when you look at the damage of Marinix. Thus, I will give Marinix a C, unfortunately. She does have that decreased defense, but, bring a little bit something more, right? Vizier Ovelis, he still has that AoE, or that great A1 with the increased duration of all buffs. It's become less and less unique over the years. Obviously, Gwendolyn the Silent has the same ability and then a lot more to her kit. He can spread things like bombs, so maybe pair with an Astrolith. You can have some nice synergy with a Vizier, but he's fallen off a lot in my opinion. He's still all right, but just all right. Frankly, not who you want to see coming out of a legendary, shard or whatever, or a sacred shard, I guess. Let's give Vizier a C. Kind of kills me, but yeah. Chromax Moonblood, F. Not a fan, man. He's really, really trash. I think the only F that we've given so far. An AoE Provoke and a decreased accuracy on a 4-turn cooldown from a defense-based damage dealer who doesn't deal any damage. Not feeling it. He's a Doom Tower hard champion. He's trash. Swarm Speaker he's the Unity guy. He's pretty interesting, right? He has an AoE if the initial target survives. He's like a damage dealer here, right? His escalations, what do? If an enemy is killed by the skill, permanently increases the champion's attack. So he's all-out nuker. Has a 50% chance to attack an enemy with a skill whenever the enemy attempts to place a buff. Pretty interesting there. Allies receive less damage based on buffs and no buffs. At the start of each round, place a block buffs debuff on all enemies, and it can't be resisted. That's the best ability here, plus just the passive itself. Will ignore 12% of your target's defense if they're under no buffs. So an interesting Unity Lord, given that he's all about damage and damage escalation. From what I've seen, the damage is there on this dude, so I'm going to go ahead and give him an A. All right, Astrolith. Man, she has a pretty cool turn meter boost on her A1. She does have a 2 bombs, 1 turn, can't be resisted. That is by far and away the best single target bomb ability in the game. So it's very niche, but hey, she's got it. She also has speed in arena by 28%, so nice to use as a speed lead as well. Very conditional. You can pair her again with a Vizier to spread that bomb around, more effective. We'll give her a B-. Queen Ava, big buff to Queen Ava. Her Ancient Curse ability, man, it hits really, really hard. One of the best single target block revive abilities, and it's a double hitter, so you can get around a UDK as well, if not just kill him if he's not under Stone Skin. Being that she's Spirit Affinity, she's still a great campaign farmer as well. I'm going to give her a B+ now. She used to be like a D. Ghostborn, 2 strong AoEs. Both hit pretty hard, can deal some damage, and he has a decreased defense with a decreased attack on all allies that can't be resisted. Definitely a little bit more niche, but still, you know, you can use him as a Seer Activator, maybe in a shield set, strip away 2 buffs with the A3 ability, or you can use him when you just don't want to load up a bunch of accuracy on somebody else on your team. So we'll give Ghostborn a B-. Ruel, the Hunt Master. Man, this guy's one of those champions that I feel like should be better than he is, honestly, right? He's a damage dealer who gets better against enemies under Hex. When he was released, Hex was barely a thing. I think he was one of the first Hex champions out there in the entire game. Since then, they buffed Hex, and they added a billion other Hex champions.
You trendsetter!
His damage for me just still isn't quite there to make him as elite as he should be. He brings some nice things to the table. He's not total trash. He's just not that great. Very squishy. 13k, 980 on the defense as well. I'm going to give Ruel, the Hunt Master, a C+. Altan of the Shell got a buff. He's Ruela's, or Oela's, excuse me, companion champion. He's very, very selfish with his A2 ability. I don't like it. He has an A3 that, you know, has a lot going on. I'm not going to read it all to you guys. They made him a little bit better. He's still not good enough for me. I'm still not a fan. I'm going to give him a C. Blind Seer, man, another champion I want to see a buff to. She's very fast, 115 base speed, but her revive really, really, really sucks, especially for a Void legendary. Revive all dead allies with no turn meter. It's not even there. And 35% HP. Block damage for 1 turn on a 5 turn. That's not enough. Rest of her kit is solid. Block debuffs and a shield. 3 turn cooldown. Turn meter fill on her A, or turn meter decrease, excuse me, on her A1. Good control there. Man, a lot going on here. A lot of good stuff. Defense in all battles on the aura. But also that revive needs a lot of work. I'm going to give her a B. She should be a lot better though. Lydia the Death Siren, man, she's S tier. She's got one of the best abilities in the entire game on Siren's Wail, getting 2 essential buffs and 2 essential debuffs on the same ability. Sign me up. She's great for, you know, even trials and stuff like that with the 3 debuffs on the A3 or a lockout. Very good champion. Super unique passive as well. She's the faction wars champion that we all get, and she's still absolutely worth making that a priority on your account. S tier. Vizix the Unbowed, they made her a hell of a lot better. An AoE decrease speed, an AoE provoke, as well as some shield, as well as turn meter on her A1. She's got the defense and faction crypts, okay. But man, Hydra, anywhere else, she's bringing a lot to the table, a lot of control. I'm gonna give her an A+. Mithrala Lifebane, S tier. Hex, increase defense, increase attack, the cleanse, the strengthen, the shield, the control on the passive, the unlimited resistance, the poisons on the A1, the great base stat, the accuracy in all battles. Man, she's one of the best supports out there in the game, the perfect progression champion out there, and even gets a lot of run in the end game as well. Man, she's just one of those plug and play champions. Plug her into any team and you're usually going to be a hell of a lot better. So Mithrala is still in a league of her own, to some regard at least, in terms of versatile supports out there. She even brings the damage on the A1 S tier. Tremaria got a big buff, actually. A much needed buff. She's got a great speed in all battles. She's got an AoE on her A1 with a decreased speed. She's got an AoE on her A2 with a stun, decreased turn meter as well. They added that, as well as a newly buffed A3 ability. It's a cleanse with a turn meter fill with a block debuff, which they added. Fills a turn meter a further 5% for any debuff removed. I like that they kind of reworded this as well. They made her a hell of a lot better. She's immune to CC, which is incredible as well. I think she's really solid now. She's still not S tier or anything like that, but I'll give her an A- now. A lot more compelling than she used to be. A lot of players can use her as a versatile support, cleanse, as well as a stun control champion. Supreme Kale. Man, maybe my second favorite Supreme out there. He's got an AoE 3 poisons. Nothing can be, everything. Nothing can be resisted. There we go. Ash, learn how to speak, bro. Learn how to speak. He's got to increase accuracy on all allies. He's got to decrease resistance. He's got an AoE weaken. Again, no accuracy needed. Nothing can be resisted. It's insane in his kit. He's a very compelling, albeit maybe a bit of a niche champion in the game. I'm going to give him a B. Fatalis Blade Master. Man, what could have been? I do not have Fatalis Blade Master. HP-based damage dealer, has Ignore Stone Skin ability, one of like 8 champions in the game now, 6 champions maybe to have it. It looks like he can deal a lot of damage, but the damage is kind of hit or miss. Some people say he's underrated. Some people say he's incredibly overrated. I don't have him, but what I've seen, I'm going to say the truth lies somewhere in between. I'm going to give him a B-, maybe a C+. Oof, those reviews are pretty bad, though. Maybe a C. All right, that's it. Moving right along to Undead Horde. Crypt King Grawl. Crypt King, not a bad champion, honestly. He's all about the burns. He's very fast, too. 107 base speed, decreased attack on his A1. He's got the burn on a 3-turn cooldown on the A2. And then he has a freeze and a burn for 3 turns if the target's already under burn on a 4-turn cooldown. A nice control and burn champion, great in areas like Spider as well. We'll give King Grawl a B. Rotos, the Lost Groom. For my money, Rotos is still the best single target nuker out there in the game. I know a lot of people would say that Ieyasu is quite a bit better, or some people would argue that. Man, I just think that Rotos is second to none. I mean, he's insane with the extra turns, the ignore defense, the 2-turn cooldown, the synergy with Siphi. I just absolutely love Rotos. The synergy with the relic, the relic that I forgot the name of it, but you guys know him. Aspect is the Aspect relic, I believe, which I have on him, by the way. Aspect of Surath. He's insane with the Ward of the Fallen blessing as well. He's just so freaking good. He does so much damage, so many extra turns for a single target damage dealer. He's everything to me. Rotos, S tier. Saito, unfortunately not S tier. I've always been underwhelmed with Saito. I even made a video kind of apologizing to players because a lot of fans out there of Saito. He looks so cool. He's based on a real life content creator. I forgot his name, but you can let me know in the comments below if you remember them. Really cool. They actually flew him into like Ukraine to do the whole, you know, animation and whatnot of the champion. Very cool. He just doesn't bring enough damage for me to get super excited, right? He has a conditional AoE on a 4-turn cooldown. I've always been underwhelmed by Saito, and I apologize if you feel differently, but that's how I feel. I'm gonna give Saito a D. Yeah, sorry. Elagaeus, D. Maybe an F. really just not bringing much to the table. He's tanky, is a pretty cool preemptive death passive. He's got a single target skills on cooldown with a block buffs, nice neutralizer. It applies to duplicate champions too, but just not enough. He's not bringing enough to the table to really make him compelling. He feels like an epic to me. I'm going to give him a D. Morrigan, man, now I love Morrigan. She's very, very fast. She's got speed in all battles. She's got one of those abilities in Velocimancy, which you're reducing turn meter of enemies, you're filling turn meter of allies, and you're increasing speed, similar to a Shuzen, similar to an Energize on Lysandra. Very nice ability. I love the heal reduction that can't be removed at the start of each turn. That is so annoying to go against. She also brings the decreased speed, 70%, 75 with Sniper on her A1. I love this champion. I'm going to give her an A-. Scar Torsus. AoE on the A1 with buff steal, very nice. Fast champion too, 109 base speed. He has got the setup, increase attack, increase crit rate for your nukers, as well as a cleanse with a heal and some turn meter on the A3. Not a bad kit, honestly. Has been a little bit kind of replaced or power crept over the years. He's an old school champion, one of the OGs out there in the game, but he's not trash. He does have speed and dungeons by 33% as well. I'll give him a B-. Bad Elkazar, another OG original. He's got the cleanse, the 2 continuous heals, and the 2 poisons on the Malice ability with the damage escalation against targets under poison, or from targets, excuse me, against targets under poison. Man, an old champion, good old Chosen Brad, who's still got it. He's still got it, man. He really is great with this A2, but he does fall victim a little bit to the niche use of poison right now in the game. I'm going to give Bad Elkazar an A+. That ability is just so nasty with the cleanse and the heals. Blood Gorge, man, he's got a really strong ignore 100% of enemy defense. When you see will ignore defense, that means 100%, similar to a Mortu Macabre, the way it's coded in. And a block revive. Decapitates one of the best single target damage skills, out there in the game. He also has a put one of each target skills on cooldown, really underrated ability on his Raging Beast that hits pretty hard too. Other than that, a very simple kit. It almost feels outdated. I'm going to give him a B. Is a threat, force to be reckoned with that decapitate, but he's more niche. Ultimate Death Knight, UDK. He's still all over the arena. He can solo content with the Too Awesome to Die. With the Didn't Need Him. With the Too Awesome to Die, he's going to preempt those attacks on allies. He's great for a go second team. He's great for a lot of areas in the game, frankly. He can deal a little bit of damage as too. You can make a nuke UDK, but still the most popular build on him is a super slow stone skin for 2 turns with the shield continuous heal on that A3. Nice utility here. I'm going to give him an A+. Knave of Hearts. I actually have Knave of Hearts. Kind of underwhelmed. She has a provoke on each hit, 50%, really solid on the provoke on that A1, good for Magma Dragon, good for Head of Decay. She has an AoE stealing 2 buffs from the target, continuous heals as well on allies, a swap HP mechanic, equalize HP mechanic, and an increased defense, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown, restores destroyed max HP. Interesting kit, but just not enough for me to be super excited about her. I'll give her a B-. Mashald, man, they reworked him years ago, and it's still one of the best reworks they've had in this game. He was the worst legendary champion for years, the early days of Raid Shadow Legends. Really, he had the weak version of buffs. It was trash. They made him so much better. Increased speed, increased crit damage, leech, and true fear for 2 turns on all enemies on a 3-turn cooldown with the extra turn. And then the AoE potential on the A1, the steal all buffs on the A2 as well. Man, a lot going on here. Very good champion, A+. Nethril, an old school champion. You can feel the old school on Nethril. He was actually one of the top most sought after champions when I started playing this game, with that poison on the A1 for Demon Lord and AoE stun on the A2, and Bat Swarm with the turn meter manipulation. Good turn meter control, good control overall, but man, he's fallen off. No aura, no passive, longer cooldowns than what is standard nowadays. Man, he's still not awful, but I'm going to give him a B-. I really want to see a buff to Nethril. Suzerain Khatan. an AoE on the A1, an AoE on the A2, and an AoE on the A3, none of which deal that much damage. He does have a weaken, a conditional decreased defense, but it's on a 4-turn cooldown. I want to see it on a 3-turn cooldown. I'm going to give him a C-. I would love to see a buff to this champion. You can get utility out of him in some situations, however. Harvest Jack, another cool champion, a ton of HP on this dude. HP base champion, obviously, an AoE block buffs. He's doing a lot of manipulation to the enemy team, in addition to True Fear, as well as a conditional decreased speed and sleep. A lot of conditionality in his kit. Super fun champion. I love Halloween, my favorite holiday out there. So I love Harvest Jack. I love Madame Ceres. I love Brackus the Shifter. I love Miscreated Monster. That update, basically. But he's fallen off. Very niche. Cool passive too, by the way. But I wish he was more viable, because when he came out, he was really a menace in the arena. I'm going to give him a C. I would love to see a buff to him. Tribune Heracleides. He is the Unity Lord champion. He's got 100% ignore defense on his A2 ability and then some. Another hard-hitting A3 ability. I do not have this champion. He has ignore defense boost on his Unity bonuses. He also has, whenever this champion is dead or an ally attacks an enemy, this champion will join that attack using his A1, which has a True Fear on it that can't be resisted or blocked if this champion's dead. So he's joining in ally attacks when he's dead. He really fits the Undead Horde motif. Man, I'm going to give Tribune Heracleides an A. I feel like that's a safe way to go on a lot of these unities that I don't have that are pretty damn good and hard to get. Sivi the Lost Bride. Still S tier, 114 on the speed. She's got the heals on the passive. She's got the remove, freeze, and fear, everything from Rhodos on the passive. She's got a great full turn meter revive. She's got the turn meter fill. She's got the block debuffs, the increased speed, the increased defense, and one of the best control abilities in the game in the arena, and against Sand Devil too, for that matter, in the Curse of Longing, an irresistible sleep on her A1 ability if their turn meter is above 50%. It's so nasty. You put it all together, you're looking at one of the best supports out there in the game. Still S tier, even after they buffed her, or nerfed, excuse me, her
I think speech therapy could possibly help your situation.
Whirlwind Romance way back in the day. Nekret the Great. Man, he's a very interesting ally attack champion. It's all around his ally protection, which he has on this disturbing infusion. His claim to fame, though, is he starts each round by putting a block debuff, ally protection, and strengthen on your ally with the lowest HP, who needs it the most, your nuker. It's great protection there to keep somebody like a Blood Gorge or a Nithwi Blood Twin alive, right? Or anybody. A Georgid is a very good combo with him. A lot of these nukers nowadays are built with like these deny death mechanics in their kit, but some still aren't. Nekret's a great option for those champions. Ally attack, you can actually use this dude in a lot of areas, underrated in PvE. Even in Fire Knight, triple hitter with an ally attack, great for progression anywhere in the game. I'm going to give Nekret A+. Euro Soul Cage, he is a solo beast, right? Very interesting kit. He's a Doom Tower hard champion. He's putting poisons on the attacker at a 75% clip just with his passive. That allows him to solo the Scarab King specifically. He's got great control potential on his A2. It all is based on poisons as well, or rather debuffs. Wait, it is based on poisons, my bad. Which again is kind of niche, kind of conditional. He also has a great ally protect and strengthen on his A3 ability. I'm gonna give your Soul Cage an A-. Little Miss Annie, one of the hardest hitting abilities in the game is Playdate. This can almost one-shot some bosses, especially when some Ferals on the team. Great in Fire Knight, great in Phantom Shogun's Grove as well. They had a great buff on LMA. She has a double hitter on her A2, a triple hitter on her A1 with heal reduction. Great again for Fire Knight situations. Good for Amos as well. She's got the revive where she comes back and attacks whoever killed her. Very interesting champion. I love the buff. She's still a bit niche in some situations, but where she is used, she's very, very good. We'll give her an A after her buff. Vlad the Nightborn, speaking of great buffs, they really did an awesome job with Vlad. Is he kind of supposed to be like literally Vlad the Impaler, like kind of like Dracula or something? I don't know. He doesn't look like him, but either way, my favorite series of all time game-wise is Castlevania, so I love the vampire-esque themes. I wish they would add more to the game. Anyway, AoE Leech, Stealing Term Eater, very strong on the A2. Another AoE with block active skills and a decreased defense and a perfect veil on a 3-turn cooldown. Usually in this game, block active skills are on a 4-turn cooldown. The book down to 4, 5 to 4, like on a Lugan the Steadfast, for example. But a couple champions have it on a 3. Vlad is one of them. Very, very good. He has Revive on Death mechanics as well. He can deal some damage. Great control in the kit. Great debuffs in the kit. Kind of a little bit niche to waves, maybe in the arena. He's Constantine's brother. I'm going to give him a B. Valkanin. One of the hardest hitters in the game, specifically this secret skill, Malice Unleashed, is one of the best, if not the best, abilities in the entire game of Raid Shadow Legends. However, it's niche because you have to unlock it by killing an ally. So you can pull out some nasty combos with Sun Wukong. He has a lot more going on than just that. He has a hard-hitting Hex ability and Hex of Blades as well. But really, that's his claim to fame. He's kind of niche, but he's super fun. Really cool. I'm going to give him an A just on the funometer. Funometer? Demonspawn. Prince Kymar, he's still got it even after all these years. A great ability in Abyssal Gaze with the removal of buffs and the CC and the Seal of Magic to reset cooldowns with the turn meter fill. He's still insanely good. More poison on the A1 too. Speed in arena by 30%. Not as widely used in the arena as he used to be. He was everywhere back in the day. Still very good though. Between that and resets, I'm going to give him an A+. Screw it. S tier. Tyrant Ixtalmor. He's got one of those allied protection, increased defense on his A3 ability. Won't be the last guy that we talk about with that ability. Still very good. He has a burn on a 3-turn cooldown with a 3-turn duration. A very unique combination of a burner, defense base, tanky, and protector on your team. You don't see that very often. Damage mitigation, I'm going to give him an A-. Countess Lix. Man, I wish she was a little bit better than she is. I always feel like she's going to be, like, I always try to talk myself into Countess Lix. Like, yeah, she's a monster. She's a monster, right? But not quite there. She's Astralin's companion champion. She's got a 2-time hitter with weaken, a triple hitter with a decreased speed, decreased enemies turn meter. I wish the Mire of Misery ability was on a 3-turn cooldown. I mean, nowadays we have champions like a Kemptum with a 3-time hitter on a 3-turn cooldown. That would be the perfect buff for Countess Lix. Decreased speed, we want that to have as close to 100% uptime as humanly possible. So it's unfortunate. Her cooldowns are what kill her, in my opinion. Really cool kit, though. Block active skills with decreased cooldown of all skills, kind of like Lady of Irith and Emic Trunkheart that we talked about earlier. But it's a 5-turn cooldown. Those cooldowns kill her. Otherwise, she'd be awesome. I'm going to go ahead and give her a B-. Hefrak. Very cool damage dealer. He's a simple champion. He self-buffs. He does a lot of damage with his A2 ability, ignores defense, and anytime an ally's killed, he goes in without putting it on cooldown with that A2. Really fun nuker to use. Not the hardest hitting nuker in the game, but hard enough. You can pull out some cheese teams with him and a Sun Wukong, him and a level 1 champion, a common champion. Very fun. Maybe 1-turn Stone Skin to make sure he stays alive. Deal some nice wave damage too. Let's give him a B+. Scored the half spawn. I did not go for this fusion, and I'm kind of honestly glad that I didn't. Needed a break. He's got a decent amount of damage. He's placing a hex on all enemies. He's not the worst champion. He's not the best champion. He's got a debuff spread, conditional on hex on his A1 ability as well. I'm going to go ahead and give him a B-. You guys let me know what you think of that. I guess Hydra would be his best area. Drexstar Blood Twin. Man, he's a bizarre champion. He's a good reason to play some Tag Team Arena. Maybe one of the only reasons to play some Tag Team Arena. Get his champion fragments. He's just a beast in Doom Tower. He's got the AoE provoke, some decent damage there, and kind of some built-in lifesteal on his A1 ability. Still a solid champion even after all these years. Let's go ahead and give Drexstar a B+. Candyman, Candrafon, one of the hardest hitting abilities on his Punish Hubris A1 ability in the game. He's got a lot of Veil in Perfect Veil Synergy, which he also brings in his kit on a self-buff move on his A3, a hard-hitting Butcher's Glee as well. He has fallen off. He's not as badass of an attack-based nuker compared to some of the newer ones that we talked about here, but he still is a threat and a force to be reckoned with in the arena. We'll give him a B+. Sissia Flametongue, still a great burner, obviously in Spider Hard or anywhere that you need to burn in this game, even in Hydra, because she also brings decreased defense and weaken. She has extra turn potential. She has a triple hitter on her A1 ability as well. A squishy damage dealer, burner, all into one, right? And burn activator. Did I mention that? So yeah, Sissia to me is A+. Vassal of the Seal. I've always been a fan of this dude, and a lot of people throw a lot of shade at him. He's not the best, but he's not the worst. He's an HP-based champion with true fear and decreased attack on a 2-turn duration on a 3-turn cooldown. Great damage mitigation and great for control and wave content. He's got one of the better heals out there in the game, one of those HP equalizers, kind of like Sinesha walking Tomb Drang Truath on his demon possession. Not bad. Not the best, not the worst. We'll give him a C+. Wither the Crowned. Now here's a competent healer. She's got an AoE leech. She's got continuous heal on a random ally. That's just her A1 on an AoE. She has an increased defense on all allies. She's got increased duration of continuous heals. She's got instant activation of continuous heals. She has a cleanse and then a big mama 30% of her max HP heal, one of the best AoE heals in the game, on her A3. I get choked up when I talk about Wither. She's got a continuous heal on ally with lowest HP, if that wasn't enough. When we're talking about fast, tanky healers, you can't get much better than Wither the Crowned. Maybe only like a Marichka. So Wither is an A+. Volcanos Fumer. Man, here's a champion I wish I had. I do not have Volcanos. I wish I did. One of the better Unity faction champions out there in the game. He's got irresistible burns. He's got, if a target's under burn debuff, this attack will ignore everything, including Stone Skin. He's got, if an HP burn debuff is activated on an enemy, 50% chance to decrease skills cooldown by 1 turn. He's got a block revive. Where is it? HP burn debuffs placed by this skill cannot be resisted or blocked, excuse me. And then place a block revive debuff on enemies killed while under a burn. Man, he fits the Demonspawn aesthetic beautifully, right? All about burns, all about damage. You can pull out some nasty teams with him as a Unity Lord. We're going to give him an A+. Mortu Macabre. Man, he's still got that annoying peril ability. He's still the king of campaign, the final boss in Raid Shadow Legends. The peril ability is still nasty. It's 100% ignore defense ability. It does have to be unlocked, but this is one of those champions that you don't need ignore. I see some people build him with stone or with savage, excuse me, or lethal. You don't need it on him. Just go, I mean, sure, you can use it on the A2, but it doesn't hit that hard anyway. You can just go in there and put crit damage on him, put Stone Skin on him, and he's going to ignore 100% defense anyway, right? It's a block revive ability. He's still very, very niche in the arena only for my money. I mean, the Falling from Grace, it's not, the cooldown needs to be brought down 1. It would be a great buff to Mortu Macabre to make this a dependable Hydra champion as well. I'm going to give him a C+. Not bad, but very, very niche. Lord Shazar, man, he's got that speed in arena battles by 32%. He's got a triple hitter on his A1. He's got some nice extra turn self-buffing abilities, perfect for a bomber. And then he has Cruel Fate. Hard-hitting, high multiplier ability in terms of the bombs. Decrease cooldown of those bombs by 1 turn if the attack is critical. He's a cool champion if bombs ever actually become super meta outside of Kometis and Nishak in the game. Lord Shazar could definitely see some run, but it's just not that day to day. So he's, for me, kind of a B- champion. Duchess. Block debuffs, increase attack, perfect veil, 4-turn cooldown, little shield action on the A1. She's got a great revive, 70% HP with the veil and the heals, 4-turn cooldown. They tried to nerf it. The community got outraged. They went back on the nerf. She's got speed in all battles, and then she's got that ethereal waves, beautiful AoE damage mitigation, 25% in the arena. That's super, super strong. I prefer Duchess in the arena. I prefer prefer Glaciad in PvE, but both of them are a beast everywhere. I still think she's S tier. Helikath has the big, decently hard-hitting Winds of the Pit ability on an AoE with a shield based on his defense. He has a nasty A1 because we're using it all the time with his passive synergy. He's ignoring block damage, which is very nice to have on an A1. And, oh yeah, he brings the block damage, replaced by an increased defense when it expires on his Devoted Servant's A3 ability. A previous fusion, got a ton of run. Other options, other metas have formulated since he was brought into the game, especially on Demon Lord, but he's still very, very nice. I use him in Nether Spider. He can be great against like a Taurus team as well, or a number of different teams where block damage is helpful in the arena. I'm going to give him an A+. Cheshire Cat. I do not have him. I went for him. Don't have him. I wish I did. He has speed in all battles on the aura. He's got a very nasty, hard-hitting A3 ability. Before attacking, he has perfect veil and an increased attack. Extra turn if he kills an enemy. His damage scales on speed as well. He has fatal hit blocking as well. He has a lot of veil and perfect veil synergy. A lot of damage from this cat. Definitely one of the more compelling Alice champions that was released. I'm going to give him an A+. Krutraxa, quad hitter, ignore defense on her A1, and then a hard-hitting A2 with an extra turn and a weaken. Great for areas like Fire Knight. Good for the arena, just not S tier in the arena. She used to be, not anymore. A bit of a niche void legendary, honestly, but where she, does well, again, like Fire Knight situations, she does very well. Really cool looking champion as well. I'm going to give her a B. And Ithwi Blood Twin, man, he's a very unique champion. Every single one of his moves, even Soul Reap, if you have that as a blessing on him, will deny revival. So all you got to do is kill somebody. His No Mercy, they give it a big buff, damage multiplier. They also gave a buff to the Tormenting Whispers. They both don't hit incredibly hard, but hey, he hits you, he denies revival. So he's cool. He's not incredibly good, but he's still like a threat. Anyway, I'm going to give Nithwi a B-. Lamansu, at least I tried. It's Lamansu. She's really freaking good. Super, super fast. She's the clan siege champion, of course. She's going to decrease attack on an AoE on the A1. She has A, block buffs and a true fear for 2 turns on all enemies on a 3-turn cooldown. And then Icon of Domination, very underrated, very good. It's a cleanse and 2 intercepts and a 50% turn meter boost and a full reset on the A3. Nasty, nasty ability. She's immune to sheep as well. She's pretty good in the arena. She's very good in almost everywhere in PvE. Very, very good champion. I think that people kind of underestimate what she can do. I'm going to give her an A+. Chalco the Blind. Good old little Chalco here, man. I like this champion a lot. I pulled him. I was lucky enough to get my hands on him, but I don't use him a ton right now, mainly because I use him in one Hydra team. He smacks in Hydra, a lot of damage in Hydra. Does about, it's anecdotal, but does about 200 million damage for me as a nuker, which is very, very good. Not like Tashiro level good, but up there. So a lot of damage out of this guy. But man, having that block passive skills, the reason I don't use him a lot in the arena is I have no blessing or empowerment on him. So as soon as I get it, he's on my wish list. He'll be there. Block passive skills with a decreased defense with a debuff spread. Block passive skills on all enemies is super powerful, very hard to find. A decently hard-hitting buff removal ability on his A3, and he's immune to CC. If someone tries to CC him, I'm looking at you, Armand, he'll go in with the A2 and block passive skills. Very powerful. He needs intercept, right? He needs something, or feral, something to block sheep because he's very prone to polymorph. Other than that, an amazing champion. I'm going to give him an S tier. All right. Moving right along to Orcs, guys. We have Grohawk. Grohawk the Bloodied, man. This guy really stinks. They gave him a buff. He's still not that good. Decreased speed. He's got a champion filled turn meter on his A2. Lord of War is better than it used to be. They reduced the cooldown. They made the weaken the big version. He's stealing the turn meter instead of depleting the turn meter. Still not enough. Good in some niche situations, but that's about it. Feels like an epic to me. He really does. I'm going to give him a D. Karela, Witch Arm. Ally attack, old school ally attack. She brings a stun on her ally attack, and it's a 3-turn cooldown, albeit only 3 allies joining up in the attack. A hard-hitting war weirding ability with some nice buffs on it, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown. She's not my favorite ally attacker in the game, but she's not trash. She's not that bad. I'm going to go ahead and give her a... Yeah, we'll give her a B. Tila Gormain, big buffs to Tila over the last couple years. She's so much better than she used to be. She's tanky. She's stealing buffs on her A1. She's got burns and continuous heals on a 3-turn cooldown. Don't even need the books for the cooldown. And then she has an AoE with Leech and Hex, increased duration of burns on her A3. Very good kit. I'm going to give her an A-, a lot better than people think because of those buffs. Daeneg, Skull Reap. AoE, decreased accuracy and true fear, a pretty hard-hitting battle flow ability, a lot of crazy synergy against Dark Elves and High Elves. My man hates Elves. He's too conditional for me, though. Some decent damage, but that's about it. He's a fun champion, but not that great of a champion, in my opinion. We'll go ahead and give him a D. Artak, AoE, AoE, AoE. He's placing burns. He's activating burns. He's placing decreased attacks. He can solo Ice Golem hard. He's nasty. He was a free champion, too, as part of the Arbiter series or whatever. Very, very good. I'm going to give him an A+. Robar. Man, Robar, he used to be one of the beasts of this game. Merciless Assault, definitely a very hard-hitting ability, but nowadays, he's squishy damage dealer with a decreased defense, you know? I think he needs a big buff, personally. I want to see him bring a little bit more to the table. I'm going to give him a C-. Gomlock, Skyhide. I want to see a buff to Gomlock. An AoE ×2, 4-turn cooldown, decreased defense and weaken. Let's make that a 3-turn cooldown. Until then, I'm not really enamored by this champion. Not a lot of damage out of this champion at all either. So we're gonna give him a D. King Garage actually got a big buff. Quad hitter. Each critical hit decreases the cooldown of Goremaker, 50% chance. That's on a quad hitter. This is a hard-hitting AoE ignore defense. They nailed it with him on the buffs. He's still a bit one-dimensional, but man, if you're looking for damage, he's a great force affinity nuker now. We'll give him a B. Packmaster Shayak, excuse me. Don't call me Sky. I did not go for Packmaster. I do not have him on my account. Take that into consideration. He's very weird. Some people like him. He's got a Term Eater feel. He's got a block buffs on all enemies. Great for Hydra on a 3-turn cooldown. Certainly not the worst champion in the game. Also has Hex application in his kit. He's got speed in all battles. He's super tanky, so he definitely can bring some utility. I'm not blown away by him, though. I'll give him a C+. Aragaz Wild King is the faction Unity champion for the Orcs. Pretty good Unity champion. I do have him. He's got a damage, attack 1 ally, and then he fills their turn meter and puts a shield. Fills his turn meter by the same amount. Very weird ability. On his Cackle the Blades, it's an AoE provoke. It has instant activation. Where is it? Instantly activates the skill whenever an ally's HP drops below 50%. Instantly activating the skill will not place it on cooldown. Very nice synergy there on that with the instant activation Unity bonus. He also has, whenever an ally kills an enemy, grant that ally an instant turn. That's busted. That is busted. And he has escalation of all of his stats when an ally or enemy dies. I'll give him an A. Matriarch Zargurna. Excuse me for butchering her name. She's a new-ish champion, HP-based champion. She's got a provoke on her A1 with self-heal. She's decreasing the duration of all ally debuffs on a 4-turn cooldown with a continuous heal on all allies, a taunt and an unkillable on herself. And then she has an AoE 3-turn cooldown with a big shield. When it expires, it's replaced by a strengthen. Allies under shield receive less damage. To me, she's an all-right damage mitigator, support champion added to the game. Again, taunt feels pretty niche now that they kind of nerfed it for Hydra for me. I'm going to give her a C+, I guess, on Matriarch. Nogdar the Headhunter. I'm a sucker for Nogdar. They went and they buffed him on the Headsman Return about a year ago. It used to be 50% turn meter, 50% HP. Whenever he dies, he instantly gets revived as long as everybody else is alive on the team. He has this A3 ability where he sacrifices HP, then he swaps his HP with an enemy, and that can't be resisted. He's granted an extra turn with a hard-hitting AoE on the A2 ability. Kind of tough to use right now because he is situational in terms of getting him to actually die, but he can deal some damage. Extra turn mechanic on his hard-hitting A1. I think he's underrated, but he's certainly far from meta. I'm going to give him a B. Iron Brago. Hey man, he's still got an AoE 75% provoke, a decreased attack, an increased defense on a 3-turn cooldown, 3-turn duration, a 2-turn stun if the target is under 2 or more buffs on his A2. Certainly not the worst champion. He feels like a bit more of a progression champion than he was. He was kind of meta-defining for Clan Boss back in the day. He has nice defense escalation on his passive too. You could do a lot worse, but frankly, you could do better than Iron Brago nowadays too. Still pretty cool, great for progression. We'll give him a B+. Varl the Destroyer. Man, he's a Doom Tower hard champion that we actually want to get our hands on. He does a lot of damage. He has mass murder, a way to escalate his damage, and it happens with each active skill use. So more and more over time, he's a beast in Hydra. A ton of damage out of this dude. He can hard carry one of your teams. It's also super nice to have your damage dealer bring an AoE weaken to the table as well as a decreased attack. So damage mitigation, a super hard-hitting A1, an incredibly hard-hitting Calamity Torrent on his A3. I'm going to give him an A-. Jack Bonesaw was not impressed by this champion, unfortunately. He's got an AoE, remove all buffs from all enemies before attacking, which is really nice, and that's the highlight of his kit. It's a 4-turn cooldown. It doesn't deal insane damage. I was underwhelmed. He has a debuff spread effect, which is pretty interesting. He transfers his debuffs over. He's not the worst champion in the game. I don't think he's the best champion in the game. I'm going to give him a C+. Bells the Reckoner. Bells was he a guaranteed champion, I believe. He has a steal all buffs from target, which is nice. He has an AoE block buffs and a leech. Really good for Hydra Clan Boss on a 3-turn cooldown. Maybe a bit niche, not a ton of damage coming from this HP-based champion, but not a trash champion either. Can definitely be Hydra useful. I'm going to give him a B. Warlord, still the king of lockouts. A full lockout, turn meter depletion, insane ability on Orcish rituals, a great support ability with the block debuffs and the shield and the heal on the A2. I mean, what else is there to say about this old school champion that still has it, still insane, still one of the best, if not the best pure lockouts and control champions out there in the game, even despite his lackluster speed at 100. S tier. Angar, man, they gave him a big buff, and I was super excited about it. He's still super one-dimensional. He has a 75% chance of an AoE 2-turn provoke. That's really good, but it's also really niche, and that's really his kit. He's still not the Void Legendary that you want to pull out of a Void Shard. We're going to give him a C. Rock of Viletide, fortunately, is a lot better. Really underrated reviver. She's got a speed in all battles aura. She's got a nasty creep passive. At the start of each turn, fills a turn meter of all allies by 10%. She also has heals and continuous heals. She has a block debuffs with a revive. It will be used even as a block debuffs ability. She has a cleanse, an increased attack, and a shield on her A2. And hey, she's really fast at a 109 base speed. Great for Chimera as well. I'm going to give her an A-. Supreme Galek. He's placing the burns. He's activating the burns. He's got an AoE decreased speed. He's got block buffs as well. He deals some nice damage. He can strip away true fears as well. So a lot going on here, specifically good for progression, as well as Spider, as well as, of course, Hydra with the decreased speed, the block buffs, and the burn. Damage and then some. We'll give him he's my favorite Supreme, by the way. I'm going to give him a B+. All right, moving right along to Skinwalkers. Norog, the big pig. AoE block buffs. That's about it. That's his whole kit. That's it. He actually has a pretty good damage mitigation on thick skin, but man, he feels like an epic champion and then some. Really, really the definition of power creep here. We're gonna go ahead and give him a D. I hate to do it, Norog, but he desperately needs a buff. I would not be shocked if he didn't get one very soon. Longbeard, a great ally attack option. Ally attack, he joins in with a hard-hitting A1 that ignores shield and block damage, and increased damage inflicted by allies by 20%, which really alleviates the damage penalty of ally attacks in this game. He also brings the big version of Weaken on another hard-hitting A2 ability. Solid champion, we'll give him an A-. Hacker and Smashlord, they gave him a great buff. This is how they should do buffs. His A2 was super underwhelming on a 4-turn cooldown. Now it's a 3-turn cooldown. You get a cleanse, a block debuffs, and a heal. Really solid. All of that into one. They also reworked the blood offering. He's no longer doing no damage by sacrificing his HP. Instead, he's got a nice beefy shield on his A3. So solid buff there. Still a bit one-dimensional when you look at his entire kit. I'm going to give him a B. Razelvarg. Hair Force 1. There he is. The rabbit. Man, I like Razelvarg a lot. I pulled him super, super late, and I wasn't disappointed. He deals some really nasty damage. He's got an AoE leech. He's got an increased speed, an increased accuracy buff on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. His damage scales with speed, and his speed scales on his passive built for, you guessed it, speed. He also has speed in all battles by 20%. You can do better in most areas, kind of the jack of all trades, but the master of none. But man, I was not disappointed by the damage and the buffs and everything else. I'm going to give him a B+. Bambus 4-leaf. Some people hate Bambus, some people love Bambus. He's very fast, he's very tanky, which is very nice. He's got a shield. He's got all these sleep synergy things going on. He brings Enfeeble as well. Which is very unique. Him and Androck and Marius being the only champions that have that, I want to say. He puts himself to sleep as well, and then he basically transfers all debuffs. He's a complicated champion to use, which is bizarre that they're using him as a free champion for new players out there. But he's a bit niche for me. He's pretty good in Hydra, pretty good in a lot of areas of the game. I don't think he's S tier, or certainly the champion that I really want to see coming out of a shard, but you can definitely get utility out of him. Spending too much time talking about Bambus, let's give him a B-. War Chief, man, talk about one-dimensional. He's got Provoke on his A1, Provoke on his A2. He's arguably the best single target provoker in the game. Is that enough to justify a great kit? Not really. So I'm going to go ahead and give War Chief a... Man, if you're looking for a Magma Dragon Provoker, he's an S tier. If you're looking for anything else, probably C. Mighty Ukko. Man, Mighty Ukko, a fast reviver with the increased speed on the revive, block damage, stealing protected buffs, like stealing buffs and then turning them into protected on Totem Warden. One of my favorite passives out there, super underrated. AoE decrease attack on the A1, AoE buff removal on the A2. Really unique kit, especially for a reviver with his speed in all battles aura by 20%. Man, Mighty Ukko is very, very good. I'm going to give him an A. Brackus the Shifter, a raw damage dealer with a freaking 6-time full moon rampage. Really cool champion. Decent damage, but super, I don't know, man. He needs a buff in my opinion. I hate that he has a single target on his A1, then 6-time hitter on his A2. You can do some nasty things with him in the Beast Mode's passive, putting him in Swift Parry gear or something like that. He used to be a great damage dealer. He still is against old school Demon Lord clan boss. But it's like, where are we really using this dude outside of having fun in the arena? I'm gonna give him a C-. Would love to see a buff. Nishak Merman Lord is the best bomber out of any legendary in the game. Second best bomber in the game after Cometus. He's got bombs on his A1. He's got bombs on his A3. He's got extra turn mechanic where he can decrease the duration of said bombs. He is a great bomber in the arena against Bommel, against wave content. He's got 2 hard-hitting AoE nukes in his kit as well. Very, very good champion. We'll give him an A+. Gwendolyn the Silent, the Owl. As I mentioned earlier, she has the same A1 as Vizier Ovelis. Very good ability, extending duration of all debuffs on enemy. Very strong. She has an AoE decreased speed and a leech and a decreased accuracy. One of the best 9-piece feral candidates out there on an AoE. She has another AoE, another 3-turn cooldown, stealing block debuffs, placing increased accuracy, and she's getting an extra turn after she uses any 3 skills with stat escalation. I really like Gwendolyn the Silent. I'm going to give her a B+. Bolent Freewalker is the Unity Lord or whatever. For Skinwalkers, I do not have him. An AoE ×2 hit on a 3-turn cooldown, 100% chance of placing a stun on each hit, as if you needed it on both. But hey, you could still get the extra chance, especially given, you know, affinities. You can ignore resistance when powered up. You can remove all buffs from all enemies on one faction ally. That is busted. He has extra stun synergy, such as ignore defense on his passive. Very, very fun looking Lord. I'm going to give him an A. Snick Track. I like Snick Track. He's all about the reflect damage, but he actually has good utility. Reflect damage, as well as ally protection, and a lot of synergy in his kit. He's really good as well with the decreased speed, the decreased attack, and the reflect damage, plus the leech. He's great in Chimera for trials. He's great for survivability anywhere in the game. Maybe a little bit niche. It's not bringing a lot of damage to your team, but man, if you're looking for ally protection, reflect damage, decreased speed on an AoE 3-turn cooldown, look no further. I'm going to give good old Snick Track an A. Samson the Masher, A-. Samson the Masher, don't have him. Don't have the monkey. I really want him, even though he looks okay.
Beauty lies in his power.
He's removing increased defense, and then he's placing an extra hit. Okay. He's an HP-based damage dealer with an extra turn self-buffing ability. I don't know. To me, he's kind of, he's really basic, you know, for an HP-based damage dealer, and his multipliers did not blow me away. I'm going to give him a, I guess I'm going to give him a C. Cleo Terex. She is a login champion. It takes you like 2 years to get her, but you can get her eventually. She actually deals a lot of damage. She has a really nice Feather Barrage, 3-turn cooldown with block active skills conditional upon Hex, and another harder hitting Sky Punishment with an increased accuracy and said Hex. To me, she's up there, top 5 attack-based damage dealer for legendary champions in the Spirit Affinity. So nice wings too. Nice wings. Clearotyrix, I'm going to give a B-. Ragash. Man, they broke the mold when they made Ragash. He single-handedly power crept a lot of champions. He has an increased defense on himself on the A1, which is great on a 2-turn duration. Given he's a defense-based damage dealer, he can deal a lot of damage. For Typhoon is one of the hardest-hitting AoE defense-based nukes out there in the game. Not the, but it's up there. He also has a stun and a decreased defense on the same ability, all on a 3-turn cooldown, all 100% when booked. Very good, as well as a strength and increased speed. Perfect Veil on himself for 2 turns. He starts the turn with a Perfect Veil as well. 20% more damage on targets whose defense is lower than his. Ragash is S tier. Great Hoof Lauratia. Great Hoof, man. She got a good buff. She got a good buff. I was very underwhelmed by the cow when she was a fragment summon. They did a nice job with the buff on her. A lot of turn meter fill with block debuffs and increased accuracy on all allies. 3-turn cooldown. And then she has the opposite, or close to, decreased accuracy and decreased resistance. Fills his champion's turn meter by 10% for each debuff placed by this skill. Especially good against wave content. You can get your turn meter right the back up. I love what they did to her kit. She's not the best champion in the world. She steals random buffs on her A1. She has nice turn meter escalation on her Hoofbeats passive. I wish her base speed was faster. I mean, she is a cow. Cows are fast, right?
Oh, are you gonna throw a ball? Oh, please throw a ball, and I will chase it because my brain is the size.
We'll give her a B-. Sun Wukong, the Monkey King himself. You guys know Sun Wukong. He's got the arena aura. He's got the unbeatable Wukong passive. He just keeps coming back to life. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in, or pull me back from the grave in Sun Wukong's case. He's got the AoE buff steal, the block debuffs, the hard-hitting Staff of Wonder that can just absolutely annihilate a team. As I always say, the battle is not over until the last version of Sun Wukong is dead. S tier. Coronar, man, Coronar's fallen off a little bit. Really cool champion. He is the beast to Manaya's beauty. He's got an AoE decreased turn meter on his A1. He's got an AoE provoke on his A2. Not a bad ability, especially a 3-turn cooldown. I hate that his battle waltz ability, though, is on a 4-turn cooldown when booked. He is a Void Legendary Plarium. Can we get this down to a 3-turn cooldown? If so, he would be a lot more useful. Until then, he's a bit niche, although still good. Kind of a weird area to be. I'm going to give him a B. Tamisha, man, a great champion here. She's got an AoE burn 3 turns for 3-turn duration, same as a Tyrant in that regard. She also has a stun on targets with 50% or more turn meter or a decreased speed. That makes her great in areas like Hydra Clan Boss with a decreased speed, or wave content with the stun, or a Spider for the burn. A lot of versatility and a hard-hitting burning regret on her A3. When an ally receives a freeze, it could replace it with a burn. Whenever a champion's under a burn, they're immune to all the CC debuff impact, or effects, excuse me. So, yeah, pretty good champion here. I'm going to give her an A. I'm going to give her an A. Leo, Leorius the Proud. He's got the Rage of the Pride. As long as this ability is not on cooldown, he's immune to CC. That makes him incredible, especially in the arena. He has an awesome Roar and AoE True Fear as well before attacking, throwing the Weaken on them. It is on a 4-turn cooldown. Hard to use him as a debuff or damage dealer in a lot of longer PvE situations, but in shorter durations, he's amazing. He has the Unkillable parlayed with the damage escalation on the passive. That means when he's sitting there at 1% HP, he can just annihilate the enemy team. A+. Marius, the Gallant. Oh, there he is. Arguably the best champion in the game. An AoE, increased accuracy, increased defense, extra turn mechanic on everybody with a stun on the enemy with the highest turn meter. Death or Glory is bonkers. Decreased duration of everything. Polymorph proof. He cannot be put to decreased defense, excuse me. He's immune to turn meter reduction effects. He can go in with a hard-hitting AoE on his A1 with Enfeeble. That means no critical hits, no debuffs from anybody who has it. He can get back to the enemy max HP even faster because of the extra turn mechanic. He's super tanky. He's super fast. He's got the defense in all battles. S tier. All right. Not Undead Horde, Ash. Lizardmen. Draco Morph. Man, Draco used to be everything when I started this game. His A1 Seeping Pain, it smacked so hard it could one-shot frickin' Ice Golem. That's how hard it hit back in the day. He also was a champion who used to really stink, and they gave him a big buff years and years ago. He's got 4 poisons on his A2 single target, or actually, well, best when single target. It is at random attack. And then he has that weakened decreased defense. Yeah, he's fallen off throughout the years for sure. He's not like the most wanted legendary in the game anymore, but man, he's still really freaking good. Let's go ahead and give him let's give him A tier. All right, Roxanne. Ooh, my voice is even my disgusting falsetto is even going. This dude is all about veils and perfect veils. He can deal some decent damage. I hate that his cooldown is a 4-turn duration, 5 booked down to 4. With the conditionality added up on top of that, he's not my favorite champion in the game. I don't like the conditionalness of the veils and perfect veils, having to trigger his AoEs, or what is it? Is it, yeah. If he's not under a perfect veil, yeah, you put the perfect veil on him, and then it becomes a single target. I hate that. I hate that, and I hate the cooldown. I'm not a fan. I never was. I know some people out there like him. I'm going to give him a D. Yeah, I'm that low on him. All right, Ba-Satha. Hopefully they buff him, though. Ba-Satha is a Doom Tower hard champion who's actually really solid. He has a strengthen and a continuous heal on all allies, as well as a shield on a 3-turn cooldown. He has an AoE stun, 100%, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown, but he's also decreasing each target's turn meter by 30%. It's a great control ability. He also has a a stun every time an enemy is revived on his passive. Very strong. Not as good as like Lydia's passive, but still very strong nonetheless on a tanky champion. By the time that you get him, he ends up being more of a niche champion on your account though, because he takes so long to get your hands on. He looks super cool too. I'm going to give him an A-, but I don't know, maybe even a B+. He's just niche. He's hard. Fushan, a really good raw damage dealer, an old school champion. He does have speed in all battles by 24%, which is fantastic. He has an AoE, the Sill of the Drake's A2 ability, only it hits a lot harder. He has a 4-time at random with a big version of decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. Great for bosses, great for Demon Lord, right? Demon Lord damage dealer and a decreased defense champion or wave content. He's great for his aura lead as well, giving him abilities to shine in more exclusive or restrictive content like Doom Tower, like Centranos. Still not the best champion out there, has been crept quite a bit. His damage used to be amazing, now it's pretty good. We'll give him a B-. Rosin Scarhide, man, this cooldown kills me 7 turns booked down to 6. It's still a great ability though. If you use it in the arena, sometimes that's all you need, right? It's just 1 time to decrease turn meter. Really good ability, but I hate the cooldown. Really strong A1 and strong A2. Decreased defense, weaken, great for bosses on the A2. Defense-based champion. Still a permanent fusion that I feel like every player out there should go for, albeit I would love to see a buff, especially to that base speed. You're killing me, Plarium. I'm going to give him a B-. He could easily be an A- if they buffed up that speed and that cooldown on the A3. Skull Lord Vargal got a few buffs throughout the years. A lot, base stats are second to none, right? A lot of speed, a lot of HP. He's got a 2-turn provoke, right? No, I'm sorry, a 1-turn provoke on a 2-turn cooldown on his A2, I apologize. Along with an AoE decreased defense. He's great for Head of Decay. He's interesting. He has True Fear on targets with destroyed HP that escalates. Good for Scarab King. You can solo Scarab King as well in some situations, in certain builds. At the start of this champion's turn, revives a random ally from the Lizardmen faction on his Skull Brood passive. He's a very kind of, still for me, a niche champion, but not a terrible one. I'm going to give him a C+. Pythion, man, great cleanse, great heal, and block debuffs. One of the more powerful abilities in terms of cleanses out there in the game on that A2. Plus, my man revives, right? He's super tanky champion. He's got a solid revive, 4-turn cooldown when booked, and a great damage mitigation on his passive. Being red or force affinity gives him extra utility, especially in the arena. He's a good option being a cleanser to build him with very high resist. You can do some pretty nasty things with him in the arena. You can use him as a reviver and a support champion anywhere. I think he's A tier. Vergumkar, the big fella. There he is. Vergumkar, they gave him a buff a few years back that was actually really good. He has a stun on the A1. He's got a remove provoke, another random debuff, an increased defense and a shield on a 3-turn cooldown. And then he has a remove a buff with a decreased defense and 2 random buffs actually on a 3-turn cooldown on the A3. He's a great tanky progression champion. Does not shine in the end game, but can really help your account get to, new heights and can be a dependable buffer and debuffer all rolled into one tanky slug in progression. I'm going to give him a B. Nekmo Thar, man, the king of speed in a lot of ways, kind of the legendary seeker in some aspects. He's got an increased speed with a turn meter fill of 30%, which again is what we look for in terms of the best turn meter fills out there. With the extra turn, he's got an AoE decreased speed and a leech and a decreased attack, all in an AoE. He's got the speed or a lead. He's got the Rune of Haste passive, giving him more turn meter escalation, getting back to more turn meter boosts, more extra turns, more increased speed, more decreased speed. Man, Chimera, Trials, Hydra, Clan Boss, anything. He's great, especially in longer battles where we can really take advantage of everything he has to offer. I'm going to give him an A+. Krokmar the Devourer. Man, this dude is nasty. This dude's nasty. He's not very good, but he's nasty. He's got an extra turn ability with a increased crit rate, increased crit damage, and then he comes in there and he just nukes. That's all he does. That's his whole kit, guys. That's it. He does have an AoE on his A1 if the attack's critical, right? But basically, I mean, he self-buffs and he hits hard and he's super, super tanky. I'm going to give him a C because he's very niche, you know, like whatever. It almost feels like an epic kit, but like a really fun champion to mess around with and super tanky. So I was surprised by his damage. Teox, I don't have him. I wish I did. Arguably the best Unity Lord out there in the game, certainly in the conversation. This dude's all about insane damage. Deals a ton of damage, amplifies damage. Everybody else on your team. He's got fills his champion's turn meter by 5% whenever an enemy or ally receives a debuff. Another strong AoE with the extra hit and the ignore defense as well. On the triple hitter on the A2 ability, the ally with the highest crit damage joining the attack is amazing. It gives even more damage over time. We'll give him S tier. Krisk the Ageless. Good old Krisky Poo. I'm just a girl. Never say that again, Ash. An AoE decreased speed on this A1. He's got the AoE on the A2, increased duration of buffs on allies, the ally protection, the provoke, the increased defense, the increased speed on all allies, then the debuffs on the passive as well as the shield to start out the round. This guy is still on the top of the game in terms of the best champions out there. He's still the guy that you're very happy, thrilled over the moon to see coming out of a Void Shard. We're going to give him still S tier. Ramen 2 Drake's Blood. Ramen 2, man. This guy deals kind of like a little bit of a Rio Bone Spear thing vibe going on with the A2. A bunch of debuffs plus the True Fear instead of the stun on Rio. On his A2, really great to get all of that on a 3-turn cooldown. He is a campaign or a missions champion, rather. He's one of the best, if not the best, passive skill placers out there in the game, especially in the arena. Everything in this game is based on strong passive skills, revolves around strong passive skills. Ramen 2 Drake's Blood is one of the best mitigators of that in the game. We're going to give him an A+. Shagur, I've loved this guy in the past. I've hated this guy in the past. Not hate, but I wish he was just a little bit better. Which is weird to say because I actually like him. He has an AoE ×2 hitter on a 3-turn cooldown. He's placing a poison for 4 turns. On the second hit, a decreased defense for 3 turns. All on a 3-turn duration. He has a pretty hard-hitting Heartstopper ability as well, and he instantly attacks enemies whenever they receive damage from a poison placed by this champion. I just wish... It's crazy to say because he's not a bad champion. Good for Sand Devil with Sleep too. But I just wish there was a little bit more in his kit. I'm going to give him an A, which is still a solid grade. Sulfurion, one of the most unique revivers, one of the best revivers in the game. He's got a revive with an extra turn mechanic. He's got a burn with a burn activation on a 3-turn cooldown on his A2. And then a hell of a lot of HP burn synergy, including increasing his own speed as well. Fills a turn meter of all allies each time a debuff, a burn debuff is placed. Increases speed by 7 for each HP burn debuff on the battlefield. He's one of the best burners for the arena, one of the best burners for Hydra, one of the best burners for Spider, anywhere. S tier. Feedy Tealcrest. Man, I do not have Feedy Tealcrest, but I wish I did. An AoE, removing buffs, block buffs, decrease speed, fill turn meter, all allies, 3-turn cooldown. Oh my word. Heal on the A1 as well. Turn meter increase on the A1. This Sky Mirage is a nasty ability. 4-turn cooldown, perfect veil, increased resistance, decreased cooldown of all active skills, except this champion's by 3 turns. Ooh, that's nasty. Very good champion. Turn meter fill effects on allies under CC debuffs are 30% more effective. Whenever a sheep is removed or expires from an ally, heals them and then plays an increased speed as well. I actually have not seen him at all in Live Arena or in Platinum Arena. Just not quite enough there, but man, really good kit for PvE. We're going to go ahead and give him an S tier. All right, moving on to Ogryn Tribes. Biggin, the first legendary I ever got on my account. An AoE on the A1, an AoE on the A2, and an AoE ×2 on the A3 with some good control there with the decreased speed and the turn meter. A lot of damage here. Maybe falling off a little bit from way back in the day when he was one of the best DPS out there in the game. We're going to give him a B. War Mother, man, she's like right there if bombs were ever meta to being really good. She got 2 bombs on an AoE with instant detonation on an AoE on the A3. Unfortunately, just not really there, you know? Nishak is better. Obviously, Commodus is better. I'd even take Gaius over her as well. We'll give her a C. Ignatius has an irresistible HP burn. Granted, power crept a bit by champions like Walking Tombdrang out there who have it on a 3-turn cooldown, but still 2 strong AoEs from a defense-based champion. One is the irresistible burn, great in areas like Frostbiter that require a high accuracy on your champions, and then an AoE provoke at a 75% clip, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown when booked. I'm going to give Ignatius a B. Vizig the Noxious. He is the Unity champion for Ogryn Tribe. I do not have him. He has an AoE instant activation on his A1 of both poison and burns. It is only a 50% chance, but pretty cool. He's placing poison and burns on his A2, and then he has an increased accuracy, increased duration of all enemy debuffs, which really synergizes beautifully with the rest of his kit. He's got increased speed, only 1 faction ally necessary for that. 2-turn increase, decrease on his 2 faction allies, and then HP and poison burn debuffs placed by allies are all protected and increased damage dealt on the number 2, excuse me. So a lot going on there. More damage on the A1. Very interesting and great synergistic kit between burns and activations. We'll give him an A+. Moss Beard is still pretty good and underrated, especially when paired or comboed with a high damage dealer, most famously Trunda and Hydra Clan Boss. He puts poisons on all allies. He gets poison escalation. They fixed him in all the right ways on his rework a year or 2 ago. Now he's not removing poisons with his A2. He'll keep them on there, but shield and heal the target on a 2-turn cooldown. He places block buffs, which is essential for Hydra Clan Boss as well. We'll give him a B-. A little bit niche. Gerda Bogbrew. Gerda is a free champion that we get. Is she a great one? You guys can be the judge. She is tanky. Most people hate Gerda. She has an AoE weaken. She has a removing a random buff from all enemies, as well as placing poisons. Removes 2 random buffs from all allies on the same ability. Believe it or not, Hemlock Surprise on a 3-turn cooldown is actually a really solid ability. She's not the worst champion. She's not the best. We'll give her a C+. Koragar Deathbell. Koragar is another one of those champions with ally protection and strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown on the A3 ability. Koragar also has a great cleanse with a chance of filling the turn meter, or 100% chance when booked, of a 30% turn meter fill. This is a really, really good kit. You know, nowadays on a champion like this, we're still looking for like one more thing to bring to the table. But in terms of support, the A3 is great. The A2 is also great. We'll give Koragar Deathbell an A. Brugard Jeroboam. Went for this guy, was not impressed. Has a cleanse on a 3-turn cooldown, not bad, with a shield, solid. Increased duration of all enemy debuffs, increased duration of all ally buffs, and then a turn meter fill of 20% on a 4-turn cooldown. Man, I'm just not super excited about it. Even with the passive, I want a little bit more out of my legendaries nowadays. I'm going to give Brugard, nice speed though, I'm going to give Brugard a B-. Kraken the Blackened. What an interesting looking champion. I do not have Kraken the Blackened on my account. A support champion, kind of a new champion. Heal reduction on the A1 and AoE decrease accuracy, with the weaken and the increased continuous heal duration. We're placing the continuous heals and a reflect damage and a restoration on the A3. Man, not a fan of this champion. Even with the passive, I'm going to give Cracklin a C-, maybe a D. Not the legendary I want to see added to the game. Moto of the Peel. Moto is Esme the Dancer's companion champion, and frankly, a lot better than Esme in my opinion. An AoE stun on a 3-turn cooldown, 100% land rate, very good ability, and an ignore enemy shield ability. Damage increases on enemies under Stone Skin. You can use the Cracked Roots Blessing in combination with that and destroy that Stone Skin. If the attack removes a Stone Skin, grants an extra turn, hard-hitting ability, a lot better than Esme, in my opinion. Again, quite different too. I'm going to go ahead and give him an A-. Shamrock. Shamrock is an underrated champion. Decreased speed on all enemies, a place that's not predicated on a critical hit, and turn meter manipulation, as well as a really nifty Lucky Charms ability, giving the increased defense to everybody, increased speed with allies more than 50% HP, revive on death with allies less than as well. Solid ability, 3-turn cooldown, very fast, very tanky, B+, underrated. Drockle the Gaunt. Increase attack, increase defense, and block damage if they have less than 30% HP on a 3-turn cooldown. Not a bad ability. Doesn't blow me away. It's like Mausoleum Mage-ish, you know? And then we have a shield with some shield synergy here as well. Getting healed after the shield goes away. Nice base stats, pretty fast. Not the best champion out there, unfortunately. We'll give him a C+. Yuger the Worm Eater. I think he was a fragment summon or something like that back in the day, right? Not a bad champion. Removing all buffs from all enemies with a weaken on an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown. You could do a lot worse. Brings an increased accuracy for everybody, as well as an increased defense, whose defense is higher, or an increased attack, whoever needs it the most. Not a bad kit, honestly. Power crept, you know, by some champions out there, but not too bad to have all that in one champion. I'm gonna give Yuger I'm gonna give him a B. Blizzard the Howler. Do not have Blizzard. Did not go for the fusion. I kind of regret not going for it. Pretty cool champion. Increased defense, ally protection, 3-turn cooldown, AoE freeze on a 4-turn cooldown, decreasing turn meter at the same time, all on a 4-turn cooldown. Not too bad. Instantly transfers freezes from an ally to this enemy whenever this champion's killed. Revives him with 30% HP, 30% turn meter, revive on death for 1 turn. I've seen him solo Sand Devil because of that passive. Kind of interesting move. Triple hitter with freeze. Good for Fire Knight Hard as well. I'm going to give him a B+. Stock the Broken. That's a fusion I did go for. Very, very good champion in my opinion. Speed in all battles. He's got instant activations of poisons and burns. If you don't have a Theodore, you're going to love Stock. Also has turn meter fill on a 3-turn cooldown, and has continuous heals and continuous heal activation. I think he's super criminally slept on, or not even slept on, but is underrated overall. I'm going to give him an A. Gurgo the Augur got a massive buff. So much better than he used to be. I think he was the worst Void Legendary, or at least up there in the conversation for a long time. Now he's one of the better ones out there, specifically for the arena or anywhere that you want a strong opening CC move, such as Dark Fae or the Queen of Hearts dungeon. It's a remove all buffs from all enemies with a freeze on everybody with an extra turn. They went in and they changed the A3, so it's an AoE now with a decreased defense as well. Man, what a great kit. What a great buff. I'm going to say Gurgo the Augur is A+ now. Grazer Iron Gut AoE with heal, enemy max HP ability, heals himself on the A2 ability. He's got to provoke. He's got to increase resistance on a 3-turn cooldown, very hard to find, and an increased defense on all allies. He's got to heal as well on the passive on all allies. Man, this guy's really good. Defense in all battles by 33%. I still think between the damage and all the utility and control you get from this champion, I still think he is S tier. Togron the Conjoined. All right, I just got my hands on this champion, actually, so he is fresh in my mind. 110 base speed, you gotta love it. Speed in all battles by 20%. He's got a cleanse on a 3-turn cooldown, turn meter fill, and an increased accuracy. He's got a heal, he's got an increased speed on all allies, as well as a continuous heal on allies whose HP is below 50% on a 3-turn cooldown, and a buff spread ability, taking 1 random buff on his A1. Man, this guy, he's a weird dude. He's a weird dude, right? Not because he's conjoined, by the way. Even though that is a little, you know, that little face, poor guy, poor fella. Kill him! Anyway, I digress. I remember taking a long look at Ogryn the conjoined before. Interesting champ. It's not that bad of a kit. It's just not, like, you almost want a revive in there or something, right? Like something a little bit more to justify a void legendary. I'm going to give him a B+. I don't think he's as bad as the ratings are, but, you know, I don't know. I feel like he's missing something. Even make the continuous heals unconditional would be a nice step in the right direction. All right, Bellatar Mage Slayer. Man, he's a reviver. He has a revive on a 4-turn cooldown, AoE. He has an increased defense, increased attack move on his A2. He's HP based, not the tankiest, but not the worst. He has a very unique A1 and passive where he's decreasing duration of ally skills after they're revived on his passive. It's not that bad. It's not that great. He's not the best reviver out there. There's a bunch of better revivers out there. Heck, there's even probably better epic revivers out there. He's power crept by Mithrala on the A2, where she also brings Hex. He does have a heal there, so I guess there's that. He's okay. I'm going to give him a B-. Diamant Copper Coin. He has Intercept and an increased resistance and a strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown. That's nice. He's also very fast at 112 base speed, increased duration of buffs on his A2, another 3-turn cooldown, which is ideal, giving us an increased duration ability. He's got turn meter fill on his A2, but that's only for himself. Not cool. An AoE heal on his A1. Chance to convert a debuff into a buff before it's placed on this champion, and we kind of get how that works. We get it, Raid. Speed in all battles by 20%. Again, not my favorite champion out there in the game at all. It just feels like for a Void Legendary, all 3 of them, Diamant, Bellatar, and Ogryn, all of them could use buffs, right? So I'll give Copper Coin I'll give him a C+. Again, I don't think he's quite as bad as all these ones, but he's kind of a progression champion. That's not ever what we want to see out of a Void Legendary. Altan, man, speaking of epics, 2 thumbs down. The most in need of a buff in the game, I feel like, Legendary, is Altan. He used to be the man, now he sucks. And he has an increased defense on all allies and a revive if he kills somebody. That's about it. F. Scylla the Drakes. I still think that Scylla the Drakes is good, even after all these years. Here's why. She got the decreased speed on her A1. Decreased speed is my favorite debuff in the game. I never leave home without it. On her A2, it's a great AoE stun. She's got a solid, not OP, but a solid revive on a 4-turn cooldown. And she's got the heals and the little nifty little add-on of increased speed. Increased speed, decreased speed, great healer, good stun control, and revive all into one. At the time that you get her, almost every player can use Scylla the Drakes. We'll give her an A-. Opperton Clan Father. Big buff to this dude. He really needed it too. One of the better healers out there. He's got heals, he's got continuous heals, he's got a removal of heal reduction and then more heals. He's removing debuffs from all allies, but his claim to fame is the paternal passive. Each time a continuous heal buff heals an ally, fills that ally's turn meter by 10%. Now, I'm gonna grade him first. I'll give him a B+, but it kind of puts it in perspective, like 2 hours ago when we were talking about Senna, right? Fills the turn meter of all allies each time an a continuous heal is activated. Think about how strong that is compared to an Opperton, right? Opperton is still great, but it's just that one ally. But Senna has it on everybody gets it, albeit 5%. Either way, I don't mean to compare. Great healer, great support now. Chronum, I don't have Chronum, as you guys could see, but he's kind of a little bit of a worse version of Ninja to me, right? He places the burn, he activates the burn, but he doesn't have that activation on the same skill like Ninja does. He doesn't have the freeze like Ninja does, and he doesn't have the decreased cooldown mechanic like Ninja does. Thus, I will give Chronum a B+. He still is a burn activator at the end of the day, which is always useful. Armon's the Magnificent. You guys know Armon's. He's fast. He's annoying. He's got his speed aura. He's got the buff removal. He's got the sheep. He's got the stun. He's got the turn meter steal. He just keeps going and going and going. Oh, as if that was not enough, he resets the damn cooldowns when they get unsheeped, right? Unpolymorphed. He's S tier, not close. Still one of the best arena champions in the game. Also, one of the more annoying champions in the game. I missed the Thor fusion, and it's one of the biggest mistakes I've made. Really bummed out about it. Thor can smack. He also brings a lot of extra utility, such as a decreased speed on a 3-turn cooldown on an AoE. He has escalating he has the thunder counter that stacks as well as escalating damage. Super powerful nuker, can be used in the arena as well as PvE. I give him an A. Contra the Cyclone, I always have loved Contra. Super tanky champion, a lot of defense. She has this Chaos Tempest, which can be booked down to a 3-turn cooldown. It's a triple hitter on a 3-turn cooldown where she has a chance of placing any or all of these sorts of debuffs, right? Some RNG there. So the dependability factor is lacking, and I can understand why some players wouldn't like that. But check out this passive. First of all, she can place all these debuffs on weak hits. Great provoker. If the target's under 5 or more debuffs at the start of this champion's turn, place a provoke on them, 75% chance. She heals, she decreases their accuracy. She does so much. She's great in Hydra Clan Boss. She still is a bit niche, but she's a really fun champion. I really love her kit and how it all works. I will give her a B+. Elder Skarg. Man, Elder Skarg has a very hard-hitting Hunt the Marked ability. You can place up to 6 hits with this ability, depending on the number of buffs or debuffs on the target. You also have Burn and True Fear. You also have this nasty A3 ability, 3-turn cooldown, that places a Provoke and a bunch of else on enemies, and legendaries can't resist it. So a bit of a niche champion. He's kind of old school, but he's still not awful. I'll give him a B-. Alsgor Crimson Horn. Man, I love this dude. He is Jetney the Giant's companion champion. He has a decreased speed on his passive, which is really nice, especially for Iron Twins. This guy's a beast in Iron Twins. I just find that you can use him in all kinds of areas in Centranos. He's removing 2 buffs from all enemies on his A2. Nice ability to have. Good kind of control vis-a-vis removal there. Gets even better when Jetney's on the team. And he's a very good healer and support because he has continuous heals as well as a full heal in a block damage on all allies on a 4-turn cooldown, single target on the heal. I think he's underrated. I'm going to give him an A-. Xena Warrior Princess was a champion, past champion. Hard to get because you had to pay to get her or get incredibly lucky.
By the way, I accept credit cards.
She's good against defense, tankier champions, right? Ignore defense for each buff on the target. She's stealing turn meter, 2 hard hitting abilities, both with ignore defense potential on them, on her A2 and her A3. She can smack. Good passive here as well. We'll give Xena I'm going to give her a B+. Dune Lord Gregor is the Unity champion in AoE. Decreased duration of all enemy buffs, increased duration of all ally buffs, a shield as well. He's got to increase attack, increase accuracy, turn meter fill, decrease cooldown by 1 turn, and an instant turn on the ally with the highest crit damage. He's not my favorite Unity champion, honestly. He has some pretty cool synergy here on his passive too. But what he does have is that instant turn, which is nasty, right? Problem is like getting the exact right pairing for him can be challenging, albeit he's still a beast. I'll give him an A. Freya Fate Weaver, man, she has a very, very good kit. An AoE provoke on the A1 that actually deals a lot of damage. She's got an increased defense and a big, big shield on the A2 on a 3-turn cooldown. She has a cleanse, champions, a turn meter fill, and a block debuff on a 3-turn cooldown on her A3. Obviously, part of the Asgard divide. She has increased defense on her passive. She has preemptive death, as well as an instant turn mechanic on an ally on her passive. Man, she's super fast. She's super tanky. I give her A+. I'm a huge fan of Freya. Esme the Dancer. She's fast. She's the most recent fusion. That won't age well because one's starting in a day or two. An increased attack on all allies on her A1. Good for blender comps. You put her in the lead. Kind of a nifty little ability there that you don't see very often. You don't see it anywhere, actually. An AoE weaken, as well as an increased speed, increased accuracy on a 4-turn cooldown. I do like the chance of removing, or the removal of all buffs on all enemies, though. It's a nice kind of opening or second move in the arena as well. Her kit is good, not great. I'm going to give her a B. Valkyrie. Old school counterattack shield champion. Very basic kit here, but very effective still to this day. One of the 4 champions in the game to have counterattack, along with, let's see, Martyr, who we'll talk about in a moment, Alaz, and Skullcrusher. She has Jealousy. This champion's turn meter will be increased by 10% each time an enemy places a buff. It's nasty, nasty control in the arena still to this day. Her damage has been power crept a little bit, but still a very, very good kit with a busted passive. Defense and faction crips. I wish that was all battles by 33%. Valkyrie's still very good. I'm going to give her an A. Rorik Wormbane. Not a fan. Some people love him, some people hate him. I'm in the latter camp. He has decent turn meter control with a stun potential on his A2, which is not a bad ability. And then he has ignore defense that doesn't hit that hard on his A3. There's a little bit more to his kit, but I'm not a fan. I'm going to give him a D. Sorry, guys. Raf Matab, another champion I am not a big fan of. An AoE provoke is nice, but it's, it's an AoE provoke. I feel like epics have that. Heck, even Gnarlhorn, a rare, has that on a 3-turn cooldown. It's a nice ability, but it's not a game changer. Increased resistance and a reflect damage. That's all you got? That's all you got? He's not a value-less champion. He looks really cool, but he's not a great champion. I'm going to give him a D. Jetney the Giant. If there's one thing I'll say about Jetney, is that she can smack. Her barrier breach deals a lot of damage, especially with the ignore defense, right? She has a decreased defense on the same ability, so a very competent damage dealer and decreased defense champion from the Spirit Affinity. An AoE ×2 that also hits pretty hard on Towering Might. She's a very simple champion. She's a damage dealer and a decreased defense champion, right? Hits a bit harder with both of her AoE. She has a stun on the A1 than somebody like a Robar, so I'll grade her a little bit higher. I'll grade her a B-. Archer Queen, or R. Nergigante Archer.
Nergigante.
She's a beast, insane control champion with the AoE stun, AoE decreased speed if it's a boss, and she has a heal on her passive, a great heal. She has an AoE hex as well, a 2-turn provoke against bosses. Man, oh man, one of the best wave controllers in the game, one of the best Hydra clan boss champions in the game. Defense in dungeons is a little weird, doesn't match the rest of her kit, but hey, I'm going to give her an A+. Loki the Deceiver. Heck, I'll just give her S tier, man. I mean, she's just nasty. Loki the Deceiver, the only champion in the game with the evade ability. Oh, it's a nasty little skill that he has, as well as a great opening move where you can steal all buffs from a target, and then you can go in and steal turn meter as well. You can keep the turns going. By the way, increase attack on all allies, set up your nukers, and then go in and block active skills, and then spread that around. He starts the game with a perfect veil for 2 turns. All of his moves get better while under a perfect veil, and AoE on the A1. Man, this is a really good kit, even for a free champion. Don't discount my man just because he was free. I'm going to give Loki the Deceiver an A. Turvold. Man, old school quintessential raid champion, self-buffing ability on his ancestor's power, one of the hardest hitting abilities in the game, if not the hardest hitting ability in the game, that doesn't have an ignore defense built into it, right? Really, hits, it just, what can I say? It can evaporate anybody in the arena, no matter what buffs they have. It goes up depending on how many buffs are on him. He has a big version of Weaken on his A1 as well. Maybe a little bit of power creep going on here in terms of his base stats, but still at the end of the day, powerhouse, right? So I'm going to give him an A-. Ursuga, Warcaller, or Ursuga. She doesn't look it, but my girl's really fast. 108 base speed, very tanky. She has an ally protect and a strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown. She has this great Golden Guard passive. It's even way better than Guardian gear. Decrease the damage all allies receive from critical hits. I guess critical hit better than Guardian gear. She'll receive that damage instead. She is a tank. She's mitigating critical damage as well as ally protection. Just got to keep her alive, right? Very strong. She has some debuffs, which is rare for an HP-based champion on an AoE on her A2. Good. Still great on a go second team. She's just not insanely good as she was when she was released. I'll give her an A. Yakarl the Scourge is a farmable champion. He has a decreased speed for 3 turns on his A2 ability. They went in there, they completely reworked his kit. He can ignore defense against targets under freeze. He has an AoE 100% freeze when the target has 75% or more turn meter. Can't be resisted by targets of 75% or more turn meter, which usually is the case, especially in the arena. He also has freeze on his A1, which can make him a good Fire Knight, hard kind of control A1 champion, especially on an ally attack team. He's a lot better than he used to be. I'll give Yakarl a B+. Tuwanarok, great champion. Decreased speed on her A1, increased defense, increased speed on her A3, and she's got the block buffs and decrease attack with a debuff spread on her A2. It is random debuff spread, so you got to be careful. You can't use her usually as your only block buffs champion for Hydra. Things could go awry because you don't know if there's too many debuffs on, which are going to spread. But I am totally just like nitpicking an amazing champion. She has this inviolable passive, which is going to cleanse at the beginning of each turn. She's great in a relentless set. Overall, an incredibly good kit. I think she's A+. Odin Fae Father is S tier. Just a busted kit. Has Berserk, the only champion in the game to have it on his A1, but that's not his claim to fame. He has a removal of all buffs from all enemies, and then a decreased defense, and then a stun. It's kind of like Gurgo the Augur, but better in terms of that opening move in Storm of Familiars. Then he has an enemy max HP ability. It ignores 100% of target's defense, and it scales off whatever they are. Basically, you can one-shot most enemies in the arena with this ability, and when you kill somebody, it revives an ally. Can also do a ton of damage against bosses. Odin's Wisdom is one of the most annoying things in the game. Every 9 turns, block damage on this champion and everybody else vis-a-vis a buff spread on his passive. So now he's just randomly putting block damage, and 9 turns goes by a lot faster than you'd think. S tier champion, one of the best released in a while in this game. All right, Sacred Order, Roshkar the Tower. Roshkar's been power crept. What do you want me to say? But if you're looking for a block damage champion, he's still got you covered. Good for some niche areas like Nether Spider, Iron Twins. Very one-dimensional in my opinion. I'll give him a C+. Corvus the Corruptor is an AoE increased duration of all enemy debuffs, increased duration of all ally buffs. I love abilities like that. In AoE, each hit 2-time hitter places 2 poisons. That's, count them, 4 poisons. Not bad for an activation team as well. He also has decrease the damage enemies under poison inflict. Overall, a great kit. Be even better if poison had more of a use case in the game right now outside of areas like Dragon. I'll give him a B+. Pretty solid champion. Astralon, old school nuker. He was he really power crept the game when he was introduced with his Light of Sanctity move. It's an AoE stun, 100% stun, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown, but this was the best stun in the game when he was released alongside Countess Lix. He can deal some nice damage as well. He is Countess Lix. Okay, I was like, where is the synergy? It's on the A1. Kind of weak synergy they have together. But hey, man, he can deal some really solid damage, and he has good control. I think he's a B+ champion. Holstring, man, They reworked his kit a little bit, and he's a very underrated single target damage dealer. He brings his increased attack. He brings a triple hitter and then a quad hitter. Great for multi-hit situations, obviously. Great for Fire Knight. Great for damage. Good for raw damage. Brings in decreased speed as well. He has perfect veils, mechanisms to keep himself alive, which he needs because he's pretty squishy. An underrated single target damage dealer. We'll give him a B+. Hansel, Witch Hunter. Well, he's a lot better than Gretel. I can say that. Deals nice damage, just like Gretel. Hansel needs to be with Gretel to really get what he truly has to offer. Unlike a Countess Lix and an Astralon, these guys have, or these guy and gal have a lot of synergy together, right? An AoE ignore defense. If Gretel's on the same team, you amp up that decreased defense. You'll also increase the cooldown of enemy skills by 2 turns. I mean, that's just busted, but you need Gretel on the same squad. Ignore a hard-hitting A2 as well. Reflects Fear and True Fear back. Kind of interesting, albeit niche ability on the passive. I'm going to go ahead and give him a B-. With Gretel on the same team, he's an A-. He-Man, or He-Man. There we go. Copyright Mattel.
What is wrong with you?
I can't believe they have that. That's so silly. Either way, He-Man's insanely good. Great speed, aura, just really solid. Extra hit on all enemies from the Corrupted. He hates Corrupted. He's got his own increase in attack. He's ignoring Stone Skin and doing a great job of it. He fills turn meter of all allies if he kills an enemy, which he does oftentimes. A very hard-hitting damage escalating ability, and I have the power, as well as some nice self-buffing abilities, as well as some escalation based on each buff placed on this champion. He-Man to me is an A+ champion. Alice the Wanderer. She is the free lockout champion with some interesting synergy. Basically resets the cooldown of this champion's skills every time they kill an enemy. So should you kill on the lockout, you reset the lockout. Really great addition to the game. A decently hard-hitting Queenslayer with ignore defense as well. She's not as good as some of the other lockouts, like certainly the Warlords and other champions that we've already spoken about in this video, but she does bring something nice to the table in that lockout with the reset and some damage. Nice for all players out there, especially who are lacking a solid lockout champion, albeit far from the best in the game. We're going to go ahead and give her I'll give her a B-. Errol is a really solid damage dealer. He got a buff a while back. He's really one of the harder hitting force affinity nukers out there in the game. Nice ignore defense, strong ability. He's very, very simple. He's always been a simple champion. He's got a self cleanse, which is nice. He steals buffs from the target, which is even nicer. Negation hits very hard, but he's just a nuker, you know? Kind of one-dimensional, you know? But hey, great buff to him nonetheless. We'll give him a B. Abyss. Same kind of deal. At least she brings an AoE decreased defense, a decently hard-hitting mass impalement, a very hard-hitting divine wrath ability on her A3, great damage, maybe a bit niche to wave content for the most part here. We'll give her a B. Glycia, Soul Guide. Man, what could have been with Glycia? She's supposed to be an anti-cooldown champion. She freezes the Warlords or the Alices, right, when they try to put skills on cooldown. She's immune, and she tries to freeze before they lock out your allies on the same team with a passive. It's just RNG. It's not a guarantee. It's a 50% chance of denying the cooldown effect. She does have a pretty robust kit otherwise, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown. Kind of a weird that she has the weaken as well on the A2. Doesn't really fit the rest of her kit. She's super tanky. She looks incredible, but she's so niche and not that effective. I'm going to give her a C, unfortunately. High Mother Maud, I do not have. I wish I did. She has the same sort of passive as a Tuana Rock, which we just drooled about how good it is here. She's with the fragments. She's a fragment unlockable exclusive champion that I feel like I won't get for another 20 years. She's got decreased duration of enemy buffs by 2 turns, increased duration of ally buffs by 1 turn. Very good move. A good revive as well. Very, very good kit. Even it's going to take a while to get her. She's still going to be really solid. Good reviver. I'll give her a A+. Vault Keeper Wixwell has the best A1 provoke in the game, right? Or certainly up there against bosses, up there with, I guess, what's his face? War Chief. Better than War Chief. Who am I kidding? So great for the Head of Decay is what I'm trying to say. He was the community voted champion that we all kind of voted on his skills, and we all did a hell of a job, if I do say so myself, so take a break and pat yourself on the back. An AoE decrease attack here on this ability, increase the duration of all ally buffs. He's got the shield as well. He's got the grow shield, the intercept. Man, this guy really redefined the meta for old school Demon Lord clan boss, right? If you have him, like me, odds are you use a shield champion on the team and you just like, it's easy. Eyes closed, right? Very, very good. Not just in Demon Lord clan boss, but that's where he really redefined the game, in my opinion. I'll give him an A+. Matthias Blackflail. Interesting champion. He's an HP-based champion. I pulled him not so long ago. He does have ignore defense on his A2 on an AoE. He has a taunt on a 4-turn cooldown, reflect damage, increased resistance on all allies. A very interesting kit. Doesn't blow me away. I think he's fairly mediocre personally. He doesn't hit that hard. He's an HP-based champion. I'm going to give him a C+. Gretel. I'm underwhelmed by Gretel. I'm just going to be real with you guys. Quad hitter on her A2, and AoE, decreased turn meter by 25%. With Hansel on the same team, she gets a lot better, but I'm not judging her that way. I'm judging her independently. I'm not a fan, unfortunately. She feels very epic-y to me. I'm going to give her, and I hate to do it, I'm going to give her a D. All right, Martyr. A lot better, even after all these years. Defense in all battles on the aura, sign me up. Increased defense counterattack on the A2, very hard to find still to this day in 2025. And an AoE decreased attack and provoke on a 4-turn cooldown. Not bad at all, right? Decreased defense on her A1. Not the best champion in the game like she was in 2019, but she's still pretty solid in some areas of the game. She's still a bit outdated on that speed. I don't like it, 93. We're going to give her an A, maybe even an A+. Cupidus. AoE A1, AoE A2, which they went in, they buffed, they made it 100% burn, and then a self-buffing A3 that hits very, very hard. Of course, he's Venus's companion champion. He always counterattacks when attacked, when she's on the team, inflicts 25% more damage as well. A nice power-up. You can have some fun with them in the arena or in Hydra Clan Boss. I really love Cupidus. I think he's good, not great, but he's underrated. He's very fast too, which is nice. I'm gonna go ahead and give Cupidus a B+. Archbishop Pinthroy. I like this dude, man. A bit power crept, but still cool. I love the Pope. I love the aesthetic. I wish he was a lot better than he is, honestly. He's got debuff transfer, which isn't bad on the A1. Increased accuracy, really solid, as well as block buffs. Great for Hydra Clan Boss, of course, on the A2. He's got a heal and an increased defense, but it bums me out that it's on a 6-turn cooldown, booked down to 4. I wish it could be booked down to 3. He'd be a lot more dependable and a lot better, frankly, if he had that ability. He does remove decreased defense and weaken from himself at the start of each turn. I'd almost rather see this remove it from all allies with a 2-turn cooldown or something like that. But really, it's this cooldown. I would love to see that brought down. You know, not bad, not great. I'll give him a B-. I used to love him, but a little power creep there. Bybeld of the Thorn, excuse me, was a fusion champion. He has the same ability as a Contra the Cyclone. His debuffs land on weak hits. Very, very underrated, very powerful. He has a solid AoE provoke on his A2. Very solid, I should say, right? Also with a leech, he brings his own strengthen for himself. And then he has damage and some heals on his A3 ability. Not bad at all. He's nice and tanky as well. We'll give Bybald of the Thorn a B+. I think he's pretty solid. Falmond Mornsword is the Unity champion for Sacred Order. Very interesting champion. You usually want to build him on the slower side because you have all these kind of escalations or power-ups based on how many turns were taken in between his turns. Very good champion. Sacred Order is stacked, so there's a lot of combos that you can pull off with him as well. I will give him a... he hits hard, by the way. I should mention that too. Hits hard. I'll give him a B+. He just doesn't hit as hard, not like literally. He's not as good as some of the other faction lords out there, but he's still pretty solid. Sir Nick, I wish he was better because Lady Noelle is so insanely good. That's one way to buff Sir Nick, though. He's still okay. He's still pretty good. Unkillable, continuous heals, and a decent shield. Doesn't hit as hard as it felt like he used to back in 2019, but still a decently solid champion. I'm going to give him a... it feels kind of mean to say C+, but I feel like independent of Lady Noelle, he's kind of a C+. Venus, man, she's a great champion, very underrated. An AoE decreased defense and weaken on the same 3-turn cooldown from a Void Affinity champion. Sign me up. An AoE burn on a 4-turn cooldown, excuse me, on her A3. She's got poisons on her A1. She's got a tandem ability with Cupidus where she can remove buffs. Man, with Cupidus, she becomes a Hydra maniac. She's a great example of debuffs and damage, all baked into one fast and tanky champion with an HP in all battles aura. Cardiel is S tier. It's been a while since we set a champion's S tier here on the rankings, right? Heal all allies on A1. He's got a beautiful angel song, block debuffs, revive on death, protected revive on death, and then an ally attack as well. Great ally attack, 4-turn cooldown. I mean, good passive as well. Speed in all battles. That combination between the ally attack and the cleanse and the revive, the block debuffs and the revive on death is really, really good. Maybe a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of power creep when like Grand Oak was released to the game, but he's still S tier, man. And man, look at that character model too. Still a really cool looking champion, and he is my show me some love. My avatar, Cardiel. He's my guy. Okay, all right, back to where we were. Home stretch here. Constantine the Dayborn got a buff. This guy can really smack. You can't take that away from him. He has conditional block revive on his passive. Everybody gets block revive if Vlad's on the same team. Quietude has like a 6.7 multiplier on it. Very hard-hitting ability, stealing all buffs from the target, transferring debuffs from him to the target, and then a hard-hitting rune shatter. He's kind of one-dimensional. He's all about the damage, but there's a lot of damage. Conditional block revive. I like him. I don't love him. I think before the buff, he was a B-. After the buff, B+. Supreme Aethel. Not my favorite Supreme. Honestly, I was super let down by Supreme Aethel, which is a bummer. I loved her kit. It looked cool. An AoE before attacking places a freeze, 3-turn cooldown. That's good. Doesn't hit hard. Okay. And then a self-buffing ability with an extra turn. She really fits kind of the aesthetic of the original Aethel, but she doesn't even have the big version of Weaken on the A1. I was underwhelmed by how hard she hits, or lack thereof, even with the self-buffs on her, honestly. I'm not using her anywhere, and I'm not a big fan. The AoE freeze is nice, independent of all of that, and I can't take that away from her on a 3-turn cooldown, but that's not really what we're looking for as the highlight of a Void Legendary in the game. I'm going to give her a C-. I feel like even that's being kind, frankly. Virtuous the Anointed. People hate this dude. They gave him a buff and I don't have him. An AoE removes some buffs if it can't be resisted, right? If at least one buff was removed, increase attack, increase crit damage, ignore 30% of target's defense, boosts his turn meter for each enemy alive after the attack. It's pretty good. And then a 2-time hitter. I mean, the knock on him has always been the same. Cool kit, not enough damage. I don't know if that's the case. I have not play tested him after the buff. You guys can let me know, but from what I hear, he still kind of sucks. I'm going to give him a C. All right, next up is going to be Lady Noelle. How could we forget? S tier. Yeah, I'm that high on Lady Noelle. One of the strongest revives in the game in Hearthkeeper. This is a 3-turn AoE revive with 50% turn meter and 50% HP. Just that alone, being on a 3-turn duration when booked, is absolutely bonkers. It's insane. It's super powerful. It's nuts. She's insane. And then she has an increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown on all allies. She can remove sheep. She has great Sir Nick synergy. She has a block buffs on her A1. She has a decreased speed of enemies under freeze by 10%. When a sheep debuff expires on an ally, you get a 50% turn meter fill. Man, revive, heals. She got surplus heals as well somewhere in there. She does have that, right? Yes. No. Yes. There it is. Really, really good champion. Insanely good reviver. Super tanky as well. Hi, Elves. Eleanor. Man, I love Eleanor. She got the irresistible burn on the A1 for 2-turn duration. One of the low-key best burns in the game. It is single target, but 2-turn burn that can't be resisted on an A1, no cooldown. And AoE poisons, 2 poisons as well on a 3-turn cooldown, as well as combust. I think Eleanor is A+. Pixneal. AoE freeze, 100% 4-turn cooldown. They went in there, they buffed that a few times. Increased defense, continuous heal on all allies, and then a weaken on enemies under freeze, or an attack, and an attack if they're already under freeze. Still one of the most hated champions in the game. She's immune to freeze. She gets turn meter fill. She's removing freezes from allies as well. She's not as bad as she used to be. I'm going to give her a increased defense, continuous heals, AoE freeze. I'll give her a B-. Alexander the Sharpshooter, super one-dimensional, mediocre damage, AoE decreased defense champion. That's about it. He's pretty bad. Pretty bad, super squishy. I'm going to give him a D. Strategos Insolent. I don't have this dude. An AoE, before attacking, decreased duration of all enemy buffs, a decreased speed for 2 turns as well. Very nice A2 ability. I love Hindrance. He has an ally protection on all allies except himself. Obviously, increased defense on all allies as well. 4-turn cooldown, counterattack on himself, leaning into provokes on his A1, escalating chance when counterattacking. He has a heal on his passive as well. You can do some pretty nasty stuff with this guy. I don't have him. He's tough to judge a champion that you don't have. But as I said, I've seen some very strong teams. People seem to really like him. I'm going to go ahead and give him an A-. Fina, Blade of Avaria, is the faction Unity champion for High Elves, and she's very, very good. I've been high on her since the days she was released. Got a little bit of blowback. Not everybody is as high on her as I am, but man, she's nasty, and you're seeing her in more and more top-tier teams across the game. She has a great A3 ability here, where she's granting an extra turn if only 1 ally is on the same team, and then she has an insane lead from the front. When a buff is placed on an ally, fills their turn meter, but allies will ignore 5% of the target's defense for each buff on them. So even with 4 buffs, which is not hard to do, she brings all these unique buffs anyway, right? Even with 4 buffs, you can get an additional 20% ignore defense on all allies. That stacks obviously with Savage and or Lethal and Helm Smasher. So strong. A great A2 ability as well. Placing even more buffs with counterattack. I love Fina. Good aura speed as well with crit rate. I'm going to give her a A+. Wallmaster Athorian, he is an enemy, a max HP champion on his A2, and AoE on both of his active skills. He's bringing his own buffs. He's bringing block buffs, which is crucial because his best area is by far Hydra Clan Boss. I love him in Merciless gear if you can pull it off as well. A lot of damage and an essential debuff. You could do a lot worse. I'm going to give him an A+. Shiramani has an AoE freeze on her Ice Storm ability, same-ish as Pixneal's. She has a heal with a continuous heal on the A2. To me, she's very Pixneal-esque. She does have a triple hitter with a freeze on the A1. I think she's been power crept. However, you know, she's good for support and control. I'll give her also a B-. Lana Thero. I love Lana Thero. A great shield on his A2 on an AoE, as well as a really solid ally attack on his A3 ability. Ally attack is so powerful from a super tanky champion. Very good champion overall. Give him an A-. Basilius Rowanus, very underrated champion, has a strong triple hitter, ignore shield, increased defense, and block damage, as well as 50% of the target's defense on this A2 ability, let alone a Majesty ability on his A3 that is an AoE 100% stun. Doesn't hit that hard, especially compared to his Death's Majesty or Triple Puncture on his A2, but still a very underrated damage dealer. We'll give him a B+. Deliana, a previously freebie champion with an AoE leech on her A1, another AoE on her A3 with block buffs, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown. She does have a decreased increased resistance on a single target on her A2 as well. She increases her accuracy based on her HP. Not a bad champion, not the best champion out there. She can deal some sneaky damage for an HP-based champion as well. I'm going to go ahead and give her a B-. The Incarnate, F. She does have ally protection to strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown. Okay, that's not bad. You can definitely get some utility out of that. But man, for Arbiter's companion champion, she doesn't fit with Arbiter's aesthetic in terms of speed. She doesn't fit at all with the Arbiter. And even by herself, she's just all right at best. I give her an F. Such a massive, massive disappointment on the Incarnate. Lysandra, the old school's queen of speed. She has Energize, still a great ability to this day. It's an increased speed, turn meter fill of 30%, turn meter depletion of 30%. That is very, very good. Even compared to Shuzen the Valorous, it's still incredibly good because she has 30% on both. That is great. She has Exhaustion, which is 100% turn meter or full turn meter depletion. That's even better than 100% because if it was over 100% and they were waiting in the queue, it will deplete it all, right? Good transfer on her A1 as well. She has speed in all battles by 24% on her aura. She's a 110 base speed, super fast, A tier. Royal Huntsman, man, he has Dead Aim. Dead Aim ignores 100% defense. One of the hardest hitting abilities out there, but it is a single target ability and it is on a 5-turn cooldown. He has an AoE decreased defense as well. Not the best, not the worst champion out there. We'll give him a B-. Yannicka. Yannicka is a very hard-hitting Spirit Affinity clan shop farmable vis-a-vis Fragments champion in the game. She has a potential of having an AoE ×2 if she's under a Perfect Veil, which she places on her A2 with an extra turn. You can have a very hard-hitting Elven Judgment ability that ignores shields on her A3. Pretty one-dimensional, but very, very capable Spirit Affinity AoE nuker. I like her. I'm going to give her a B+. Tatura, Rhymehide. Decreased accuracy on the A1, a block debuffs, increased defense on the A2, 3-turn cooldown, Perfect Veil, 4-turn cooldown, as well as a shield. Great support for especially like Hydra. Super tanky, can actually deal some decent damage for a defense-based support champion on the A3 ability. Also, reflex 30% damage back, as well as having a chance to reflect freeze back on the attacker. A sneaky, nice addition to the kit as well. Very, very solid support champion, this big dog. We'll give Tatura an A-. High Keeper Prisma. Do not have this champion. Super cool aesthetic. Is a reviver on a 4-turn cooldown. A really solid revive with the Perfect Veil and turn meter. What I love about this kit is remove buffs from a target and then has an ally attack with the highest, the ally with the highest crit damage. And then if the enemy is killed, which shouldn't be that hard. I mean, we're removing buffs and the enemy who's the best nuker or the ally with the best nuker is joining in the attack, you instantly activate an instant turn on that ally. I really love that A2 ability. The stun on the A1 as well. The reviews are kind of mixed on this champion, but I love him. I would love to have him. I'm going to give him an A-. Very unique. Ethos. Still a hard-hitting AoE champion after all these years. Very simplistic kit. They did buff the weaken from the small version to the big version early last year, I want to say. Good AoE nukes, right? Decent in the arena, very good for waves and PvE. We'll give Ethos a B+. Bellinor. Hey man, you can say what you want about Bellinor, but he has, I think, a 6.2 multiplier on the overkill. He has a very hard-hitting A3, a decently hard-hitting A2, but he brings decreased defense and weaken. Again, joined with a Venus and a Lydia. He's the only champion, Void Affinity, and Yancheska, my bad, Grail Bearer, there we go. 4 Void champions that have that ability, and he's one of them, right? Good buff on him a year or two back. It used to be single target on his insurmountable A2. Now it's an AoE. You could do a lot worse. He's still a bit squishy, a bit one-dimensional. He's Xavia's companion champion. Certainly can pull off some nice speed runs and Ice Golem using the pair combined. We'll give him a B+. He's not my favorite out of the 4, but he still is, he's an option, right? Arbiter. Arbiter's still Arbiter. There you go. She's still got that beautiful arena setup, increase attack, beautiful heal when you need it, as well as that great 30% turn meter boost. You can use a revive even without reviving for an additional 20% turn meter boost, or get the extra turn off the revive. She still has utility in so many areas of the game, from Hydra to obviously the arena, especially with the aura lead. She's still more than worth going for, obviously, not just as a mechanism to unlock the Marius and the Ramantu missions, but also just still super solid in her own right. A champion that every player out there will certainly use. I'm going to give her A+. Supreme Elhain. Well, she's not as bad as Supreme Aethel.
Ouch.
She has a Let None Live, which is actually a pretty hard-hitting ability, and then she has a decently hard-hitting crack shot ability as well. I would love if this ignored Stone Skin, but, you know, overall, you could do better, you could do worse. I'm going to give Supreme Elhain a B. All right, last faction, Banner Lords. Lord Champ 4. Old school as they come, Lord Champ 4. Decreased defense on his A1, decreased accuracy, decreased attack, as well as a shield on his passive. Good for Iron Twins, decent for faction wars and progression. That's about it. I do think he's fallen off over the years. He used to be a top recommendation for me back in 2019. I'll give him a... Oh man, I hate to hate on an OG, but I actually think he's probably like a C+ nowadays. Sathalia. Aggress is a good ability, man. She's very fast, 108 base speed. She's removing buffs from enemies, decreasing turn meter as well. It escalates if they had more than 5 buffs removed. It's a very strong opening move. Other than that, she has a decent heal on her A2. I feel like she could get a buff, you know. She's still, though, like, it's still a solid ability. I'll give her a B-. Killian the Lucky, I love this dude. He's not that great, but I love him. He's got semi-charmed life. Shout out to Third Eye Blind, I'm sure you're watching. We have 2 of the following buffs at the beginning of his turn. You don't know what you're gonna get, but one of them could be block damage, very, very strong. He has a good AoE block active skills. I use the hell out of this dude in the Centranos. I forgot which floor, but you guys know in Soul Cross, it is a pain, and he's huge for me. And then he has a 2-turn stun, in addition to stealing 50% of the target's turn meter. I really love his kit. It's not the strongest, but I really love Killian. Maybe it's my Irish blood. I don't know. I'm going to give him a B-. I think that's a fair grade for him. I like him more than most, though. Siegfried the High Shield, Siegfried the High Shield. AoE Provoke is nice, especially on a 3-turn cooldown. I hate that it's a 75%. I do like that it's each hit has that 75%, so it's pretty damn dependable. He has a shield and a strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown. A pretty simplistic kit, but a pretty solid support. Solid for Hydra as well. I'm going to go ahead and give him... I actually like that he has a... 100% chance of removing a buff from bosses, too, on his A1. Pretty nice. I'm going to give him a B. Rhonda. She has a chance of joining in every single attack. It is Rowdy Ronda Rousey here, guys. Kind of an interesting collab to have in this game, but I don't hate her kit. Really underrated, I think, still to this day. She counters a lot of the meta. She has triple hitter, very hard-hitting Fury Tremor. She's immune to turn meter reduction effects from enemies when this skill is not on cooldown. She also decreases her turn meter reduction effects when the skill is on cooldown. Very nice passive effect on the AoE. You don't see a lot of those, but very nice. And then her phase rushdown, incredibly hard-hitting triple hitter with block passive skills. We've talked a few times now about how rare of an ability that is. She's got it, plus a lot of damage. Great for Fire Knight, great for the arena still. Counters a lot of the meta. Really like Rhonda. I'm going to give her an A-. Black Knight. Oh, Black Knight. He has a continuous heal increased defense ability on all allies on a 2-turn cooldown. You can't hate on that. You can say what you want about him, but you can't hate on that. He has Last Breath. Doesn't do a ton of damage, unfortunately. He has Unkillable whenever the incoming damage exceeds 15% in one attack, which is insane. He's hard to kill. He's pretty one-dimensional other than that. He's a tough champion to grade, honestly. I'm going to give him a B-. Maybe a C+, somewhere in that territory. Staltus is a lot better. He has an AoE stun, right? 65% chance on a 3-turn cooldown on each hit. Great for wave control. He brings an increased defense on himself which is great as a defense-based nuker, and then he nukes, right? He also has one of the best passives out there, right? Especially for areas like Dragon. Whenever an enemy attempts to place a weaken, decrease defense, or poison on him, it instantly reflects that back to the attacker, right? He's still on my Dragon speed farm team to this day. Can deal some nice damage. I love that he has control and his own increased defense. I'm going to give him an A-. Menaya got a buff, a heal, a block debuffs now. It's on a 4-turn cooldown. I don't love it still, even after the buff. She is the Coronar companion champion. She has a turn meter fill as well as a heal when she dies. She has attack enemy, heals the champion lowest HP by 30% of her max HP, and then a heal reduction in a leech. I think they added that on the A2. I still don't love her, unfortunately. I don't love the buff that they gave her. She's fast, great base stats, speed in all battles. There's a lot to like about her. I still give her a C+, though. Hillier. For me, Hillier was a bit of a letdown. His kit reads really well. Just didn't love the shield. First of all, the shield, the damage is nil. It's very, very weak on him. I was hoping for a little bit more, kind of like a miscreated monster type deal on his damage shield escalation. Didn't really get that. Harsh Light is pretty cool. Transfers all debuffs from all allies to a target enemy, then attacks them using his A1, which increases his defense, escalating defense increase. Overall, Healer, he could do a lot worse. He could do a lot better. I'm going to give him a B-. Timid the Fool, I love this guy. He has an extra turn mechanic. It's decreased the duration of all ally buffs by 3 turns. If there are no enemies with active buffs, grants an extra turn. It's great. It's polymorph proof on the A2 ability, and it hits pretty hard. Kegs of Dread hits even harder, and he brings an increased accuracy and a true fear on all enemies. You can get these back-to-back turns. He's HP based. He's tanky. He's even better when you have Kaja the Rai on the same team. I like him a lot. I'm going to give him a B+. Rathalos, Blade Master, the freebie in the Blade Master, Monster Hunters, excuse me, update. Man, this guy, hard-hitting overhead slash, very hard-hitting spirit step slash, cool escalating burn synergy, Rathalos mastery passive. But all I gotta say about Rathalos is, holy smokes, this guy can nuke like a Mack truck with his spirit step slash. Ignores 25% of the target's defense. If the target's a boss, ignores 100% defense. Every second use of this skill in a round will attack all enemies instead. Nothing hits like this ability against bosses, man. It's insane. I'm gonna give him an A-. Great nuker. Chronicler Adolin, I hate her. She was a freebie, and you can tell. She feels very epic-like to me. I know some of you guys like her, and I respect your decision. I just disagree. She has a sleep on the A1. Decrease speed, decrease attack. Sure, you could use her against Sand Devil, just like you can use Muckstalker against Sand Devil. I hate her. I would love to see them buff her. I think she's very epic-y. I'll give her a D. And I'm being kind. The Bumblebee, Lugan the Steadfast. They buffed him, actually. They buffed his bodyguard ability. Increased defense on this champion for 3 turns. Ally Protect. I think they bumped it down to a 3-turn cooldown. It's an all-right ability. And AoE block active skills is a lot better, albeit on a 4-turn cooldown. He's an okay. He's pretty tanky. A lot of HP, too. HP-based damage dealer-ish, kind of, sort of. Not a lot of damage. More of a support. I felt like they could have went a little bit further or farther with the buff. I'm going to give him a B-. Septimus, kind of the oft-forgotten enemy max HP champion, can still be good in some situations, but there's been better. There's a lot better out there. Think about it back in the day. Think about how much a Newt, for example, power crept Septimus, right? He was like the only legendary enemy max HP, one of the only ones, one of the better ones with his Holy Sword ability. And then Newt comes in here, same affinity, and does it triple hitter, and brings a lot more utility in the rest of his kit. Septimus still can be good situationally if you need an enemy max HP champion, albeit a single target against bosses. I'm going to give him a B. Richtoth the Bold, he has an AoE on his A1. Okay. He has a really good A2 where he's putting 3 poisons on all enemies. Even though it's a single target, the debuff goes on all enemies. And then a Curse Hold doesn't hit that hard on his A3. He's an old school, kind of a power creep champion. I will say, though, if you need a poison combust team, if you have an Eleanor or somebody like that, he can be a great option for those 3 poisons on the 3-turn cooldown on an AoE on the poison. Outside of that, he's very niche. So in that one role, he's great. Outside of that, probably a C. Kaja the Rye. Solid reviver, very fast, really good turn meter here. Turn meter 20%, cleanses 2 debuffs from each ally, then places a block debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown. Her cleanse really annoys me being on the A2 ability. It's a decent, or her revive rather. It's a decent revive on a 4-turn cooldown as well. She's a tandem champion on Timid the Fool. Not a bad champion, certainly. Turn meter reduction effects from enemies are decreased by 50% when used against this champion. Gets even better again with Timid on the team. She has speed in all battles. I'm going to give her an A-. Acelin the Stalwart is the Unity champion here. His heals, he has heals, he has shields, he has more shields, ally protection, basically protected buffs, block damage, gets even more supporty when he's the Unity Lord on your team, especially when you pair him with like a Taurus and a Marichka. It just gets bonkers. The survivability, he's very tanky in his own right that you can get from him. Not the best Unity Lord champion, but certainly not the worst either. He was the first as well. I'm going to give him an A-. Raglan. Man, she's still pretty damn good. She's got great turn meter fill on her A1 triple hitter. She's got Mercy, which I love to see brought down to a 3-turn cooldown. I think it'd be a great buff on her. And then, which is a cleanse and a heal. It scales off her attack, and it scales actually quite significantly off her attack if you're looking for more heals out of her. Miracle is still one of the better revives out there. It's a 2-turn freaking cooldown, 75% HP and a full turn meter defense in all battles. I'll give her an A-. Baron, man, Baron still got it. He really does. Sky Piercer is one of the hardest hitting abilities in the game. 50% ignore defense. It used to ignore all defense, but it used to be a secret skill that had a small percentage chance of unlocking with all of his other abilities. It's so much better this way. Trust me, you can get 100% ignore defense if you get that Helm Smasher proc in the Lethal or Savage gear as well. Just one of the hardest hitting AoE nukes out there in the game still. And then, I mean, sure, he has decreased defense, can't be resisted, which is great for bosses. But really, that trample ability makes him one of the best speed farmers because he's attacking remaining enemies with surplus damage if the target's killed. So in areas like Centranos or Doom Tower normal, he can just be a one-man wave-clearing show. He just shut off the A2 and the A3 ability. I will give Baron I'll give him a A-. Taurus, S tier. Enough said. He is the best HP-based nuker in the game. Still, he's tough to kill and he deals so much damage. He has a 2-turn stun. He counterattacks with the A2, and if he doesn't just kill him, I mean, you don't even need the 2-turn stun 90% of the time because you're killing the target when Marichka is hit or just using it in its own right. He has a hard-hitting A1. Constant Pressure is incredibly hard-hitting. The more buffs, the better. Escalates the damage. He has damage mitigation built all into his kit. He has the annoying fear at the beginning of the turn. He has all incoming damage from skills is reduced by 50%. It's ridiculous. He's tough to kill, and he's easy to kill when you're using him. S tier, S tier, S tier. Marichka, S tier, S tier, S tier. Speed in all battles, 110 base speed, one of the best heals in the game. 40% of this champion's max HP, if not the best heal. It's crazy. On a 3-turn cooldown with the shield and the protected strengthen and the cleanse and the turn meter fill and one of the most busted passives in the game. Revives everybody with 50% HP, 75% turn meter when she dies, including revivers who can just revive her again and you keep doing it over and over and over again because this part of the passive is not on a cooldown. Only this part of the passive, the active effect, is on the 3-turn cooldown. When a block damage, whenever a bomb, poison, or HP burn is placed on an ally, she's a menace inside the arena. She's amazing everywhere in this game. She's as S tier as they come. Quintus the Triumphant is the live arena champion that we get in the game. He's not as bad as a lot of people say he is, really. The weird thing about him is he's actually a bit better in PvE than he is in PvP, which is counterintuitive to how you unlock him to begin with. He has a very hard-hitting crowd favorite, a hard-hitting strip away as well. Good multipliers. No real kind of survival mechanism in him, which hurts him a little bit in the arena. He does deal additional pure damage, 10% of the target's max HP for each buff on them. I found that scales, again, very well in PvE. So really solid champion. Not the best, not the worst. Kind of unorthodox, but I will give him an A-. Great damage in Hydra as well. There it is, guys. 3 hours later, that is every legendary in Raid Shadow Legends reviewed here in 2025. I want to take a moment to thank you all who watched this entire video from start to finish, whether it took you 1 or 10 sittings. Let me know, by the way, if you made it to the end in the comments below. Hopefully you like these sort of videos. Honestly, they do all right on YouTube, but certainly, you know, not as much as I could have probably recorded 10 videos in this time. So I really do appreciate you guys who do watch these and who enjoy them. Anyway, guys, I'm rambling at the end of an already long video. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.